Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. As always, I am Subject, and I have Robert Pamela Wild. It's a very
Hello.
strange middle name your parents gave you.
Yeah,
Is
fine.
it just because they couldn't decide if you were a boy or a girl when you were born?
Yes,
That's
Angela
gonna
might have
get
been
us.
Angela might have been more appropriate, but that's a different movie.
That's gonna get us canceled. Anyway, Robert, what are we talking about first tonight? We're doing a double feature.
We're talking about Friday the 13th and Friday the 13th.
And no, we're not talking about the same movie twice. We're talking about the original from 1980 and the remake from '09.
The remake
The remake.
arguably more of a that's arguably more of a reboot or a remake of four movies.
Yeah, it's
It,
it's
it's
kind
kind
of
of
just those
different
first
from
four
that
movies
era.
distilled into one. So this is my copy of Friday the 13th, and this is a
Yeah.
unique one, not only in my collection but just in physical media that I've seen. It is the only steelbook that I have seen with a slipcover. Have you seen any of these?
These have been popping up recently, though the slipcovers I usually see, like the Walking Dead one I showed off the other week, usually it'll be like there's an image on the slipcover, but the rest of it's clear. That'll then go on top of the steelbook. But that I've been seeing a lot. Like I have a Ghost in the Shell steelbook of the original anime
Well,
movie. That's like
yeah,
that.
I
But
guess I should
yours,
say I have American Psycho that does that, where the slipcover is like the mask and
it
then the
adds to
peeling.
the image.
Yeah, this is just a
But yours
dust.
is a completely different cover. Yeah.
What's funny too, so this is the actual steelbook for anybody who hasn't seen it, and then you got the text in the back. Um, Paramount did a whole line of these because my Friday
hmm
4 one is the exact same, but just for some reason they threw a slipcover on this one.
I think they distinguished that with the slipcover because they had already put the movie out on steelbook, but just as a Blu-ray.
Oh, you know
Um,
what? You're probably
so what
right.
you have is a 4K,
Yes, this
and
is
they
the
haven't
4K.
done the Paramount movies haven't done any of the sequels yet on 4K. I don't think the New Line ones
Part
are
2
getting
has
their
a
own.
4K, but I don't. I think that's
Okay,
only overseas. Because yeah, I
okay,
mean, there's only one image you can use for this cover. Like, come on,
right.
this is
It's
like
not
Halloween.
supposed to.
Like, don't change it.
Well, it's funny you say that because of course I also have the classic cover.
Yeah,
And of course you have this too because you have the same Blu-ray collection of just the Blu-ray here. But I will say we talked about this on our physical media collection stream. This does have a pretty cool alternate poster. I will say
yeah.
for this
And
reversible
you know what I
cover.
say
That
that
is a
I
cool
think I do
poster.
use that one.
Well,
And
and now you
then
can because now you have two copies, so
yeah,
it's nice to distinguish them.
and then I'll show it off more when we get there, of course. But I also have magic.
Hell yeah. You have been sitting on this for months.
I have. I haven't got. So for anybody who hasn't watched, is not know, I haven't gotten to watch this transfer yet. It's just been sitting on my shelf, taunting me. Let me check one thing. Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I don't know. I just realized. I assume it's the unrated cut on 4K, but I don't know if it's both versions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching the unrated version because the Blu-ray has two discs, one with the theatrical, one with the unrated.
Oh,
But
okay. No, so when you hit play, it just asks you theatrical or unrated.
so
So
they have them on
we're
the
good.
same disc. And also, this is a movie where the unrated cut's like maybe a minute longer tops. It's really just a few seconds of gore here and there. But if you're gonna watch this movie, like
Might
this
as
is
well
still
get as
this is
much
the
gore
correct
as you
version to
can.
watch. Yeah. Who, if there is any, not to be judgmental, but if there's anybody out there that's like, I don't do gore. I'll stick with the R-rated theatrical. It's like, what are
Why
you
are
even
you
watching this movie
watching
for?
this?
This isn't. I get how there's some horror movies that may have more extreme cuts, and you might prefer the tamer one. I get that. So this movie, I wouldn't understand that
No.
if those people exist.
All right. All right. This is our commentary for Friday the 13th. The original, this is the second commentary on this channel, but the first one
Yeah.
that Robert and I have done together, and probably not the last of them. Anyway, are you ready, good sir?
I'm ready.
All right, let me get the timer pulled up here. There is timer. And in three, two, one, play. I've watched this
Paramount
transfer
Pictures.
maybe once. I've heard it's a it's a small upgrade from the Blu-ray, just because
Right.
you're hitting diminishing returns.
Well, and this was a very cheap production to begin with. Like
Yeah,
the 4K you have, like that's the best we're ever gonna get, right? Like that's the peak of quality, picture
unless
quality
they invent
for this
some
film.
new version of HDR that just drastically.
Mm.
The
Yeah,
the
the
only two things that I can see is either something that replaces HDR or AI upscaling finally gets to the point where it is in games. I don't know if you know this, but gaming has been doing AI upscaling, but like it works really well.
mhm.
Where we just get to that point where AI can keep upscaling and look better and better.
Well, the difference is with video games, everything you're looking at is artificially created in a computer in the first place.
Yeah,
With live action film, we still haven't cracked that, and we should stop fucking with it until we do. And even then, it's questionable. But that's another conversation. But yeah, I am worried that they're at some point going to do, well, here's the AI upscale. That looks better than ever, and it'll look fake and glossy and weird. And you don't want that. With these old movies, you want the grit. You want the film, you want the texture. Don't get rid of that.
hang on a second, Robert.
No worries. Here we have immediately, because infamously, this movie was, admittedly, by the creator Sean Cunningham, a ripoff, a cash-in ripoff of Halloween. So right off the bat, we get the POV killer shots with the camera, which Halloween didn't invent, by the way. Like that's not the first movie to do that, but
No.
this is clearly they admitted that's the movie. The success of that movie is what they're ripping off.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say with the AI thing is what I think will happen is that will be how we upscale newer films with all the CGI and everything.
Mhm.
The AI will be able to go in and upscale it, and it will be to the point of video games where you can't tell that it's upscaled.
Right.
Because a popular thing with PC gaming, especially right now, is to run the game in an eternal resolution of like 720p, and then an AI just goes in and upscales it so you can run it on much lower hardware. It's really cool. And you're like, I don't know what you're saying. Shut up.
So when two questions: when do you first see this movie, and is this the first Friday the 13th movie you see?
No. So that was what's funny because I knew the twist. We all know the twist. This is maybe the fourth or fifth one that I see. Probably later because I go backwards. I'm pretty sure I see all of the later sequels where he's a zombie first. Because I remember when I saw the remake, I was like, "This is dumb. He's running and like I'm a hunter, and that's not Jason." So I don't know when I first see this, but I do remember having that like, oh, "This is kind of boring."
Mhm. It's if you've seen a lot of slasher movies, there are many movies before and since that do what this movie's doing, just better. I'll be the
Is this
first to
the
admit
only
that.
slasher franchise where the first one isn't the best one?
That's a good question. With some, it's certainly
And that's not
debatable. I
like a
mean,
hot take. That is just the common like the first one is
right.
not the best one.
I mean, in your case, you prefer Nightmare 3 over 1, which is fair, but there's more of like a 50-50 split on
Yeah,
that,
that's a
right?
50-50.
No one's favorite Friday movie is this one, I don't think.
Favorite
But
Freddy movie?
probably it. I said Friday.
I sounded like you said
It
Freddy. I was
sounded like
like,
Friday. I said Friday.
well, I'd hope not. Freddy's not even in this one.
Yeah. So my first, I was thinking about this earlier. The first like cultural zeitgeist reference I ever get to this movie, or even the Jason character, was a improv sketch on the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Where somebody references a guy in a hockey mask with a machete, and I'm like a little child, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but people are laughing, so that must be a reference to a thing I don't know. Years pass, and I remember when the remake is coming out and seeing trailers for it, and I'm like, oh, what is this? I remember the trailer, like hearing Pamela's voice, like his name was Jason, and today is his birthday, and I'm like, consuming all like that trailer for the first. I remember my mom, like a lot of those movies, saying like, "Oh yeah, they're remaking that. Yeah, I remember that movie. I saw it. I was like, oh, it's a remake. Okay." Like I missed the whole Freddy versus Jason thing and all like the hype for that remake, which you were there for because you got introduced to this franchise at a much
Probably a
earlier
little
age than I
younger than I should have.
did.
No, because I remember I was in fifth grade. I couldn't understand why nobody else was excited for Freddy versus Jason. I was like,
That was the
do you?
Avengers for you.
Yeah, it was like, do you understand that Freddy and Jason are going to be in the same movie? Like, my poor grandma had to take me to see it because I couldn't go by myself.
And God bless her.
So something I will give this movie credit for is I really love its use of music, where it's really only when the killer you're from the killer's POV.
Yes,
Even if the music gets a little grating at times because it's just that one note.
it's a lot of strings. It's very
Yeah,
hard. Clearly inspired by the Psycho score, obviously, not to the egregious degree that Reanimator
Reanimator.
is, but I still think the score stands on its own. I still think it's great. The music is at least half the success of this movie, in my opinion. It does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and I'd argue a theme that is just as iconic as the Halloween one.
Yeah, sure. Especially, particularly the Kiki Mama
That's
Mama,
what I'm thinking
like
of.
that. Yeah.
Although everybody gets it wrong,
Well, I said it right, but
you
everybody else
did.
gets it wrong.
Well, because that's the common thing is everybody just thinks it's like ch ch ch. So what? That doesn't even make
Yeah.
any sense. Why would it be that?
So this film, of course, is set on Friday the 13th of June, presumably of 1980, the movie in which it's released, but not according to part 4, because as I have
Oh
in this
God, we're on this
headstone,
again.
Pamela Voorhees, 1930 to 79. But there wasn't
Um,
a Friday the 13th in June of 1979. What are we doing? For the first and only time, this movie broke canon. In a series known for its airtight continuity, this is the biggest flop.
yeah, it's like the Spider-Man Homecoming of the Friday the 13th movies.
It's exactly like that.
Um,
So this first one was shot in
well,
New
and there's
Jersey,
weird
right?
time. The first few are shot more on location. You know, you're in like New Jersey, you're in that area. But
3,
then,
I think, was California.
is it three where that starts? It's three or four, and you can tell
I think, I think
immediately.
it's 3, because that is not Midwest
Yeah.
woods.
Um,
Sorry, what were you saying?
the timeline is also a little wonky even in this one because I think she's gonna have a reference to it happened what 40 years ago. 40 years ago at this point.
Uh, that's a good question. No, I think it's closer to 30.
30. Okay. So like that would make sense why Jason is an adult in part two. Then why is he a kid in this one?
The answer is because A, it's a dream sequence, and B, they didn't know yet he was coming back. I love part 2, but arguably the biggest problem with that movie is they really don't take the time to explain what's been going on with Jason.
I didn't care.
They're just like,
This
hey,
is the best character in the movie.
Crazy Ralph, the old, not mentor, but the wise man who's like, hey, don't go there. I'm gonna die.
It's got a death curse. That's what's
And
missing in the reboot is just a crazy Steve guy. Because they try again in part three, and it's that weird homeless guy with the eye.
who never comes back. And Crazy Ralph, to their credit, this actor, he comes back for part 2, and then the actor they get back for part 7, where he does the opening narration, like the
Oh,
recap. That's his voice.
okay.
So that's fun. And this driver here is the voice of Belle's father in Beauty and the Beast.
That's
So good for
crazy.
him.
Uh, but yeah, we talked about how this is a ripoff of like Halloween and Psycho, but I think it's kind of a brilliant twist to invert the Psycho formula, where it's the
Hmm.
mom has gone crazy,
That's the best idea of this movie. And to her
and
credit,
it's
Patsy
just
Palmer's great.
it is kind of a shame that like this is the Jason franchise now because I don't think we'll ever do a straight up reboot with just Pamela again because some studio will be like, you gotta have the hockey mask, you gotta have Jason. But
Yeah, unless
you
that's
could
what that
remake
show turns
this
out to be.
that show that's up in the air. But you could
Mhm.
do something really cool with just the premise of this film, but not
I do.
executed by hacks.
Right. No, I think you could make it. The problem is, I have two pitches for how you bring Friday the 13th back and reboot this thing. The problem is they're completely different. First pitch is going back and doing this movie again and making it a lot darker, a lot creepier. I would take it very seriously. I would set up the Pamela twist better. There's a lot of things you could fix and flesh out, but then I would end the film if it was a remake of this with Pamela dying and then Jason coming out of nowhere and killing Alice. So I would essentially take the opening of part two and putting that at the end of the first one. And then, oh my god, Jason's alive and the scary shocker ending, which this movie kind of goes for. And then you have Jason in the sequels. My other pitch is just make a schlocky, fun Jason movie in the woods where what's it a sequel to? What's canon? Who cares? It's just another Jason movie. Don't overcomplicate it or think about it. These are these are two completely different movies in my head, but I'd be fine with
I'm gonna
either.
meet you in the middle. What I think they should do is your first pitch should be that show because I think we've shown that we can take these premises and expand on them in shows. You know,
Hmm.
the that Psycho show, Bates Motel, for example.
Yeah.
And then in the movies, just give us the schlocky, low budget Jason killing people in the woods.
Look at how successful those Terrifier movies are now. You don't need
Yeah,
to
that's what people
overcomplicate
want.
it. Hmm.
That's why it always cracks me up when people are like, "Oh, it's just killing." Yeah. Have you looked at what was popular in the '80s? It was a guy in a hockey mask going around killing people. They made 10
Yep.
of them.
Yeah, and obviously Halloween was not the first slasher movie. You know, we got a few kind of big quintessential
Halloween is
ones
the
in the
first
70s, but
masked slasher.
debatably, but certainly the biggest success of them of
Yeah.
the
Or I
70s.
guess I should say it is the creation of the movie monster slasher.
I'd still argue you should give that to Leatherface.
Oh yeah, you know what? Leatherface though is weird because it's like a family.
Right, it's still different. Halloween is what we think of. It's like all those tropes and different ideas distilled into one movie that we're then copying moving for.
Yeah, which is
Um,
funny because this is what I find interesting about the slasher genre. Is this is ripping off Halloween and then it kind of finds its identity with part two, and then everything else after is just ripping this off.
yeah, that's true. I mean, we recently talked about the original My Bloody Valentine, which I think is very good, but that's another twist killer reveal. Like the Who Done It slasher, you could argue this invents, even though it doesn't do it very well.
Yeah, because I don't think Black Christmas ever reveals who the killer is.
Nope.
Well, and it's also funny to think because we went from like Black Christmas and then Halloween, the two holidays you would think of, and then with all the holidays available, Sean S. Cunningham went Friday the 13th. That'll scare
And
people.
I, you joke, but a lot of people are superstitious. A lot of weird. Just
And
the idea of
here is the part of the movie where you remember that this is a low budget studio movie in the 70s and 80s. You could not get away with this now.
nope. But hi, Kevin Bacon.
And Kevin Bacon.
But to Cunningham's credit though, like I said, Friday the 13th, that probably used to be more of a thing than it is now, because now when you hear that, you think of this franchise. But the idea of Friday the 13th being, a cursed day, an unlucky day, that was just a thing that some people believed or knew. Just a superstitious thing. And he, to his credit, came up with that title and said, man, that would make a good horror movie title, and I want to rip off
Do
Halloween,
you
so
wish
I'll
it
put
kind
it
of
in.
tied more into the movie? Like Halloween is because it's on Halloween. My Bloody Valentine is all about Valentine's Day.
It
This just
does
kind
a
of feels
little bit.
arbitrary.
Yeah, it does a little bit because earlier we set up like, oh, this camp, like it's cursed, like all these weird things keep happening. Presumably on previous Friday the 13th, like the opening prologue with the flashback with the kids getting killed. Like that, I think was on a Friday the 13th. So it's in there a little bit, but then we kind of abandoned that
Yeah,
for this
very
movie. It's
quickly.
which is funny too, since for the sequel they were like, well, it's called Friday the 13th. Like, do we want to do an anthology thing where each film is just a completely separate story, just on a Friday the 13th? And that's obviously not where we went once Jason entered the picture. But then that's kind of what that evolved into with the TV show, which is an anthology, I think an anthology series called Friday the 13th that has nothing to do with the movies.
It is not an
Um,
anthology. That is more about cursed artifacts. It's almost like an Indiana
okay,
Jones thing, to my understanding.
weird.
However, it does have one of the leads went on to be Steven in part 9.
That is true.
Okay, so
Uh,
that prologue takes place in 58, and
okay.
he drowned in 57, so it's the year before. And then Wikipedia just says in present day, so let's assume 79, 80. Because you got to think when they're doing present day, it was probably as they were filming, so that would be 79.
Right. Yeah, that's probably what they were thinking when they got to part 4. It's just funny when it's like, yeah, but there was a Friday, June 13th in 1980. Just say that's when it was set.
No, you can't do that. They did miss the opportunity to release this on Friday the 13th. Apparently, this came out on May 9th of all times.
Weird. Well, it worked out because it was still probably in theaters by June, given how successful this was.
Oh, undoubtedly. And it should be noted that this was made for $500,000 and has grossed almost 60 million.
Yeah, those were big numbers. We were talking about this earlier. Halloween comes out. That's at the time like the most successful slasher movie ever. That starts a trend, but it takes a minute to get there. We get a few here and there in 1979 and 1980, including this one. But once this one hits, that's when the floodgates open. Because 81, the following year, is when you have like 2,000 slasher movies come out, including Halloween 2 and Friday the 13th 2.
Yeah.
So this, of course, Halloween had ripoffs, but this was what like cemented the trend, right? Where the success of this was like, oh my god, we all have to make a fucking slasher movie for
Yeah.
$2.
Well, that's what I always like. I can't get upset that movies are a business run industry. My second favorite franchise of all time is a shameless ripoff that only exists to make the studio money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we should mention part 2 is directed by Steve Miner, who went on to direct another movie on our list, the 2008 Day of the Dead.
Oh god,
It's
didn't know that.
one of the last movies he directed.
Well, he did back to back duty on Friday the 13th. He did 2 and 3, one of the best and
One
one of
of
the
the
worst.
best, yeah. I don't know, maybe he was just burned out.
Probably. I mean, they made these fucking movies in less than a year.
Yeah.
And do you like it when your comic relief character almost shoots the girl with a fucking
This is
arrow?
the scene that I was talking about. I was like, yep, this is where you realize, oh, this was an independent film in the late 70s.
Unless I'm mistaken, that didn't look like a special effect. That just looked like something they did for real.
I mean,
Like,
considering what's
yeah,
going to
it's
happen to the
right.
snake later on, it's probably a real
Yeah.
arrow.
Oh, and I'm gonna rant about that. That's annoying. But also, here's the thing: we joke a lot about Cunningham not being a particularly good director. That doesn't mean the movie is without its atmosphere or its qualities that do make it stand out.
This movie has a. I was talking to Austin about this. All of these movies have this 80s charm to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's gritty and dirty.
It's kind of a
And
blue
we'll talk.
collar vibe.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to the remake. But one thing I don't like about the remake, even though I do like that movie a lot, is it's so sleek and like very 2009. I don't know. You're missing something when you have that like sleek look.
And most of those remakes especially the Blumhouse ones, even though I like some of them, they do have kind of a samey quality to them in terms of the look and the music. And you go back to this film, and there is that charm and those little touches that kind of stand out. Like the title card is a perfect example. That is instantly iconic with the music ramping up, the logo coming at the screen, the glass smashing. It's little choices like that that make it stand out. And then you fast forward to the remake, and it's like, Friday the 13th. Eh,
Yeah,
it's just, okay.
well, that was a title card.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
Title
and
card.
like I think the third one that has that weird synth music that will get stuck in my head,
They tried something different.
and then the fucking logo explodes. We don't do that
The
anymore.
the second one explodes. The third one is the title coming out of Mrs. Verden's
Oh,
head.
okay, yeah, you're right.
Also, to this movie's credit, even though
That
I
was
think
a
it doesn't
hell of
do,
a stunt for a movie of this stature.
I'm glad you mentioned the stunt because this actress, like Robbie something, she's really cool. She seems really fun and is proud of this role, and of course, did that stunt for real because they couldn't really afford stunt doubles. And she was like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll jump out of that fucking car." And props. I respect her commitment. I'm glad she wasn't
Crazy.
injured.
Yeah, but and that's the stuff that you can get away with when you don't have a
Oh,
studio breathing down your neck.
yep. And even though what I was alluding to earlier is, even though I have mixed feelings on this, on how this handles the whodunit premise, what does set this apart from Halloween is you have that iconic Halloween opening from the POV of Michael Myers. But that's just the opening. This does it for the whole movie with our killer. That's kind of cool.
No, I really love the POV stuff, and I think that is where Cunningham is putting in an effort at least.
Mhm.
The problem is that it also there is no clues to who the killer is in this movie.
Right, there's like half a one.
I
Like,
don't
oh
think
boy,
Pamela
Joan.
Voorhees even comes up until you see her.
Yeah. But here we have the first censored kill. This isn't the theatrical cut, it's just cut down by a few seconds. And it still holds up.
That
It's
it
impressive work from
does.
Savini.
My favorite thing about that, not as a criticism, just as a joke, is that her neck changed colors between shots.
Yes. Which we'll see again with Kevin Bacon.
And now for the rest of the movie, where people just do things for a while.
Yeah. It's just people hanging out.
It'd be cool to see
Just a
Kevin
hangout
Bacon
movie.
come back in one of these.
He's done some horror stuff. Give him a different role.
He
Maybe
was
play the
in They
sheriff or something.
Them. He's not above
Yeah,
this material.
that is true. But of course, a lot of the tropes of this franchise are established here with the partying teens and bathing suits. Later, we'll do skinny dipping. We're not at the skinny dipping yet. Um, but I like the summer vibe. That's another thing that sets it apart from Halloween and previous slashers. Like this
Okay,
does set up this franchise as the summer slasher franchise.
now, Robert, I want you to name every character on that dock.
We got Sandra and Mark and Alice. No, those are part four. Um, we've got Alice and Kevin Bacon and Brenda because the subtitles said Brenda.
Which one is
Marcy.
Brenda?
I don't know. I'm just reading the subtitles.
No, that's something I was thinking of. I think about every time I watch this movie. I know one character, two characters' names: Alice and Pamela.
Yep, and Ralph, Wreck It
Oh,
Ralph. He's in
Ralph,
here.
Crazy Ralph, Crazy Wreck It Ralph.
I'm going to wreck it. Now I wish that guy lived long enough to be able to voice Ralph in that movie.
Oh,
Also, another compliment I'll give this movie. Of course, these aren't exactly big names. Kevin Bacon had been in a couple things like Animal House or something. He had appeared in stuff, but these are all like New York theater kids that they hired for this movie. And to their credit, like none of them are terrible. The performances are mostly fun. The characters are nothing. Like it's not as flat as you can get in terms
Mhm.
of characters,
They,
but the performances are good.
yeah, they all get one. Friday has Kevin Bacon, Halloween has Jamie Lee Curtis, and Nightmare has Johnny
Yep,
Depp.
that's true. Great point.
And then Hellraiser gets Henry Cavill years later in a very bad movie, but it's okay. No, I don't know if you've ever seen a still of him in that image in that movie. It's so weird. He's so
Oh
young.
yeah. Well, the what I'm introduced to him in is the Count of Monte Cristo, the early 2000s version, and
Oh, I
he's
haven't
like
seen that.
a young skinny kid. It's a good movie. It's worth watching.
I
Now,
got introduced to him where most people did Superman.
right.
Because I remember trying to watch Hellraiser 8, and it was so funny because it was on like the sci fi channel. And my mom made me shut it off because my cousin was in the other room and he was like 8. And I was so mad. And now thinking back, like, yeah, she saved me from watching Hellraiser 8.
She really did you a favor.
Yeah.
So
Here comes your
here,
favorite scene.
I hate this scene. We're at the snake scene where because we got to pad out this movie, we're gonna chase around a snake in a cabin for 2 minutes. Because what else are we gonna do?
It is
But this,
astounding to me that they couldn't think of a single like teenage drama in the middle of a summer camp. Instead, it's
yeah,
we're
those
gonna
come
kill a snake
later.
and then we're gonna go play strip monopoly.
Yes. So the story behind this goes: Tom Savini asks somebody who had some pet snakes, but like trained, not just pet snakes, like trained for screen snakes. Borrowed one for this movie, and then just fucking killed it on camera. And the guy who owned the snake didn't know they were gonna do that, and was very pissed off, rightfully so. And I think that sucks. I don't for this things like I don't think they had to kill a snake for real. That's I don't know who like
Okay,
obviously negligence was I don't know who's at fault fully if it's Savini or Cunningham. Like there's maybe some miscommunication somewhere, but cut this part out of the movie. I don't like it. It pisses me off.
okay. So I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. I don't like that they did it without permission because obviously that was somebody's pet. I
Mhm.
like that they actually killed the snake. It gives it a little bit of grit. Like you can't see that in other movies. But I agree with you that it was shitty of them to do that behind somebody's back.
Yeah, and it's I'm pretty sure because we see the actor there playing Bill. I think he's running around with the
Bill,
machete,
I think
but I think when you get that close up of the snake getting killed, I'm pretty sure that was
that you
Savini's
couldn't do
hand.
nowadays.
No, Tonto over here. So I do think Savini was the one who killed the snake. Again, there's miscommunication or something, but that's annoying. And again, it's so easy to cut around. Like just all you need is a shot of the guy just doing this, like hitting something. We don't need to see it. I get where you're coming from about adding that grit, but it's just the background on it that pisses me off. And I don't even like snakes. I hate snakes, but it's
Yeah, if
still
it had
funny.
been a snake where they got permission, maybe it was dying or something. That's
Yeah,
different.
maybe. Sure. And again, I just want to reiterate to this movie's credit, as nothing as this dialogue is, these people are believable. There is a more
I've
genuine
never,
dynamic here compared to some of the sequels.
and in most of these movies, I always at least feel like I'm watching people, a bunch of friends, even if it's like, yeah, you ain't got much going on behind the eyes.
Yeah, it's fine. They're young. Also, the reputation of these is them being teenagers, and that's often left into the teenager genre, whatever that means. Really? I think they're usually meant to be young adults, more college age. That's at least the vibe I've always gotten watching these. It's not like Halloween where they're supposed to be in high school,
Yeah, I
you
mean they're
know?
always ambiguous, but they'd have to be at least old enough to run a camp.
Right. But it's fine because Pamela's gonna show up and help him out at some point.
Of course.
And do you like this obligatory scene of this cop driving his motorcycle, turning around, going the other way? Okay. Yep, there he
Yeah,
goes.
yeah. I'm glad we stayed on that for like 5 minutes.
We never claimed that this movie was paced well.
No, in fact, I'd argue the opposite. Nothing happens for like 70 minutes. And now for the cleaning section of this movie.
Then, oh my god, crazy rough jump scare. I'm a messenger of God.
I had a Friday the 13th novel called Church of the Divine Psychopath, which I would love to
Oh,
see somebody adapt. But basically, this church decides that Jason is the hand of God and that the people that he kills are the people that God has chosen no longer need to live. So they
that's
resurrect
amazing.
him, and he just starts killing all of them.
That's great.
But I remember there's this really kind of tastefully handled for this material subplot about this character realizing she's gay,
Oh,
like trying to come to terms with that, and then Jason kills her. It started out
that's interesting.
nice. At
Yeah,
least you
well,
figured out who she was before she died.
yeah. Whenever we get to our part 7 commentary, I'm sure that'll come up because I don't. That's the one where like a lot of the actors on that movie just happen to be gay.
Oh,
Like that's a whole thing. Um,
honestly, I can never tell unless it's the stereotypical, like, you know,
yeah,
over the top.
right.
Like, it took. I had to read that the Blue Ranger from Mighty Morphin was gay before I know. If I'm just watching that show, I'd have no idea.
And and then how do you feel about Alice, this movie's final
I
girl?
think she is perfectly okay. She is not terrible. She is not great. She exists, like most of the
I
people in this movie.
I like Adrienne King in the role. I like that she has a bit more of a tomboy vibe than usually see in these movies. It's funny because Scream, of course, popularized like this is what a final girl is and all the tropes and rules and stuff. And Alice is a character who doesn't check all those boxes. We don't. Laurie is much more of that in Halloween, and of course Nancy in Nightmare on Elm
Which is
Street.
funny because I don't know if this is a hot take or maybe I'm just missing something when I watch it. I don't feel like Laurie is much more developed than Alice is. It's just
No,
Jamie Lee Curtis is a better actress.
sure.
If you're just looking at them on the page, Alice and Laurie are on about the same level for me.
Yeah, they're both likable, innocent, good intentioned.
The only thing that I think we might make Alice a little more interesting is just in terms of the final girl trope, because this makes it clear that she at some point was in a relationship with the guy that's running this whole thing. That's
Mhm.
interesting, just from a you're not as innocent as some of the other
Right.
final
We see her
girls.
smoke weed later.
Yeah,
Like, she's not the good girl of the group. She's just one of them. Like, there's not
she just
that.
happened to be the one that survives.
Right. Until the next movie.
Yeah. That's because Jason is a better killer than Pamela.
And even then, most of the final girls in this franchise still aren't, like, fully fall into that box that Laurie or Nancy fall into. Like, Jenny in 2 has a boyfriend, the girl in 3 has a boyfriend, and then a lot of the later ones end with, like, a final couple that presumably get together. So this franchise never is as stereotypical. Like on the surface, people are like, "Oh, you have sex, you die." It's like that's part of it, but it's not like I don't know. I don't think these movies are
Because you
as
never see the
anti-sex
final
as
girls
people
have
think.
sex. They're always the ones that don't participate in like the kissing
Sure,
or the drugs, except for this one.
but arguably also
Because
too
even Nancy
there.
has a boyfriend. Two of them, if you go by that movie.
That's true,
Because Freddy's her boyfriend
but
now.
but they also make it very clear that her and Glenn have never like gone that far. That's
Yeah,
a much more
that's what I'm
innocent.
saying is I think
Right.
it's more of these movies never specify if the final girl gets that far. You just never
Mhm.
see them have sex. The people that you
Right.
do see die, typically you have seen have sex.
Sure. And then but then there are plenty of characters who die who don't. you know.
Looking at oh god, what is that duo in the remake? The black guy and the Chinese guy. They didn't
Uh,
deserve that. They were
no,
fine.
yeah. Is his name Chewie?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think
his
so.
nickname? Something like that.
They're great.
But
I
yeah,
love them. They're so good.
they're good.
That is one
Although
thing you
Kirk,
cannot accuse that remake of. Is I remember almost all of those characters. Maybe not their names, but at least something that happens to them. Even Travis, the dick.
he is memorably awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a thing I'm conflicted on with this movie. Is on the one hand, I really like the laid back, summer camp vibe of this. I like that it's not super tropey yet, but you could give me a little more. Like we have a scene of this girl, acting her heart out, talking about these nightmares she has, and you're like, eh.
I don't
Like,
even know what your name
we're
is.
just we're just padding for time.
Yeah, because so I've always said that I don't love the first Halloween. I respect it. It's an enjoyable film. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think both this and Halloween are kind of boring up until that third act. The
All
only
right, well,
difference is this is more boring. And honestly, sometimes I just want to watch the last like 20 minutes on YouTube because it's the only thing of note that happens.
I love the first Halloween. I much prefer it to this. You have Donald Pleasance the whole movie. He adds a lot of personality, and you have
But you
Gene
didn't have
Cunny's
him the whole
cinematography.
movie. He fucks up for large portions of that movie.
Just a little bit. There is more going on. It's about the suspense. It's about the buildup. You got to have the
But
scenes
I
of
don't
Michael
feel any
stalking them.
suspense. I don't know why. Maybe I'm broken. I don't know.
Who
No,
knows?
Halloween.
Like hot take. Halloween is a better movie than Friday the 13th. I will die on this.
I would probably put it above the first one, yeah, because it does have better. It has at least one more character that I like.
But I've also always said, to your point earlier, as good as Jamie Lee Curtis is in that movie, and I think Laurie works totally fine for that movie. I also think she's kind of a blank slate. You can do whatever you want with in the sequel. That's part of what makes
Is that the
that
is
franchise
Lori the
interesting.
most convoluted final girl? There's like six of them now.
Yes, but I also think that's what's make it interesting. Even if most of those movies suck, it is kind of cool that we go in all these different directions with her. At least a
But
variety, which
do
is
you ever think
interesting.
about this? There's like six versions of Laurie Strode, and four
Yeah,
of them are played by Jamie Curtis.
there was a multiverse of Laurie Strodes.
Because you've got the first two, then you've got the Resurrection or H2O timeline, then you've got the Blumhouse trilogy, and then you've got the Rob Zombie versions, which are the only ones not played by Jamie Lee Curtis. That's what they should do for the next Halloween. Is he just has to fight all of the Laurie Strodes?
Yes. And then all the Michaels show up at the end.
Yeah,
But
including
one thing,
the pink masked and blonde haired one.
the one that's on screen for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
One thing I should mention though to an earlier point before somebody corrects me, the whole are these slashers, are they anti-sex or not? Because somebody could say, well, but the whole reason this Pamela is going on this killing spree is the couple starts with the couple at the opening because they were having sex, ignoring Jason, which is true. But that I think is just it's the negligence of it. It's I don't see the movie as being anti-sex. It's anti-negligence. Like these people
even
weren't paying attention and fooling around, and that's what got
even
got
if you
led
ever
to
read that
Jason
the
drowning.
villains are anti-sex, at the end of the day, they still end up losing.
Right. If a character in this movie in this is anti-sex, it's Pamela, who is an older, you can presume, more conservative background character, and
And she gets
clearly
her
the
head
villain.
fucking cut off.
Yeah, I don't think the movie is on Pamela's side in terms of what she's doing. Like, I get it, you're
It's also
grieving, but
weird
there are
for
more
me
healthy
to
ways to
read.
process that.
It's also weird for me when people try to read into these movies. You're thinking about it more than the people behind the movie did.
I mean, critics sure took them seriously because boy, did they
Oh
hate
God,
these as they were
these
coming out.
movies are a big reason why I have no respect for Ebert or Roper or Siskel, whatever his name was at the time.
Siskel and Ebert, and I do like them. They were good critics. I think they had a lot of bad takes, especially when it comes to horror, and I think they were very flawed, as you know everybody is. But the horror is the genre where
They lost all their
probably
brain
arguably,
cells.
yeah, arguably more than any other genre. It's like just
Did we
don't pay
see
attention
him
to critics. Just
die?
watch it for yourself.
I don't
No, that
remember.
was off screen.
Robert,
That's
he
one
was
of the
killed
later
by the
kills.
editing.
Yeah, we got a couple more of those coming up. See, Alice is smoking pot, just hanging out with everybody else. Uh, I
Playing strip
suggested,
monopoly.
yeah, which I suggested we do on camera, but John said no. So sorry, folks.
We'd get our channel deleted.
And this is the only nudity you get in this movie, even though that's what this franchise is known for. Like, it is very brief.
Which is funny because when you actually go out there and watch them, the only one with, like, I would say excessive nudity is 5 in the remake.
Five, yeah, five the remake, and arguably four. 4 is a lot.
4 just has a lot
But
of characters.
right, and also some of my favorite movies of the franchise. Take that however you
Of course they are.
will. But
Okay,
to
so do
quote,
you like Monopoly? I'm just curious.
no, I've never been into it.
That is a game that when I start playing, I'm having a lot of fun. An hour in, I'm over it.
Yep, just stop.
I don't know why each game has to take like 12 hours to finish.
It is the mini golf of board games, where it starts fun and then nobody plays correctly to the end because you get fucking bored and you want it to be over.
Yeah.
Have you ever played mini golf with like a crowd? It's like a big group where you have to go one at a
No,
time. It is
that sounds
agonizing.
awful.
It is the worst.
I did play real golf once, and I almost passed out after the first hole. I
From
do not
boredom.
handle the heat well.
Oh boy. Yeah.
It was hot. Those damn golf clubs are heavy. I'm done. Get me out of here. I'm gonna faint.
And
This is. I think this is a top tier kill in the franchise. What do you think?
yes. Oh yeah, this probably the best one of the movie. Yeah, we should talk about this. And the other one that's like a few seconds longer.
Well,
Innocent
and do you
conversion.
know about this? The machinery for this broke. So the
Yeah.
reason that blood spurts like that is you got Tom Savini or someone down there going,
Physically blowing into the tube, so the blood spurts weird, and it's awesome. Yeah, we're talking about the Kevin Bacon death scene for context, and it's great.
"Open
It looks
bacon."
and of course you can see the seams, like if you're looking at it too closely, like his neck suddenly gets a lot longer and is miscolored and looks weird. Like it's not perfect, but it's still impressive for the time.
I think it's the second best. I still really like the Pamela Voorhees decapitation.
That's great. That's also a good one.
Although the best part of that is when you can tell that it's clearly a guy's hands after the decapitation.
Yep. People probably didn't notice that on VHS. And then in HD, you're like, wait a minute.
No, but it's
yes,
stuff like that that adds to the charm of the movie.
and to give credit to Savini and his work, for the time, this does have some of the most realistic fake blood
Mm-hmm.
you see on screen, especially compared to something like Dawn of the Dead, where it's orange and pink for some reason. Like this is good
On
looking
a
fake blood.
technical level, this is the kill I respect probably the most.
Oh, that's a great one.
Because it blew my
You know the
mind.
story.
Because yeah, so because they needed a way to make this look real. So what Savini does is on the way up, it's a real axe. So that's why they make sure to hit the light so that the audience in their brain's like, oh, it's a real axe, and then you just swap it out with a fake one on the way down. It's such a like
Yeah.
hindsight obvious but ingenious way to do that.
It's a seamlessly edited moment because, of course, she has the fake rubber axe just glued to her face, and all she's doing is just backing up in the wall. But when that comes immediately after the light getting hit with the real axe, it's a perfect edit. Uh,
And she's a crazy
another
lady
top
talking
tier
to
kill.
herself in the mirror.
Yeah, because we got to pad out the runtime.
Can you believe we're already 45 minutes in?
It goes by fast. Like, I'm with you that this movie definitely has its dull moments and drags. I don't find it relentlessly boring. I still find it watchable, in my opinion.
I can
I've
watch it.
seen
It's
more
just
boring slashers.
put, ask me to watch a Friday movie. I'm not going to pick this one.
This is not your go-to, yeah. This is what you watch when you're doing a marathon,
Yeah.
if you're a completionist.
Marathoning them is also a very interesting experience because you can kind of see the franchise derail, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a zombie now, and he can do whatever the fuck we want him to.
Yeah, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I did not grow up with this franchise, but when I started watching these movies was because the game came out in
Mm.
2017 and looked really cool and everyone was playing it and it looked awesome and I was like, "Oh, I should finally watch those movies" because that just happened to be the time when I was starting to get into horror more, where I was watching more movies, whatever I could get my hands on, whatever was streaming. And I think on demand they had like the first 6 movies, so I watched
Were
through
you
all of
like, dear
those.
God, what am I watching?
No, I had a good time. It also helped being in an era where, of course, you had like James Rolfe on Cinemassacre, reviewing all these movies. Like, there's also a time in YouTube where more people were talking about these and actually giving them proper attention. So you could seek out. Of course, Dead Meat got their start in 2017 with the game and the Kill Count series. So there was just all this stuff to consume and watch, and I
That is
remember having
some
fun.
great makeup.
The axe kill's so good. I remember telling my best friend Donnie, who's just as much, if not more, into horror than I am, who is now also a big fan of this franchise. But at the time when I was watching these, I do distinctly remember telling him about watching through these, and I was like, "Okay, so I've seen the first 6 Friday the 13th movies, which means I've seen half of them." And he was like, "Jesus Christ." And then I got really lucky because I hit that wall of like the New Line movies where it's like, oh fuck, do I rent these? Do I track down DVDs? How do I get and then much to my luck, shortly after that, the Blu-ray set comes out and I'm like,
Oh,
fuck yeah, I'm getting
wow.
the Blu-ray set. So a couple of these movies I watched, some of the later ones I watched for the first time on this set. Because
That's
that's what, 2018,
crazy.
2019 when this thing
Yeah,
comes
somewhere
out.
around there.
So that was awesome. This is one of the creepiest
Yeah,
ideas of the movie that you could lean into with a reboot. The help me, like the boy voice that Pamela does, and like that's actually creepy. You could do more with that.
it's so funny though, just how different our experience was. Because I remember I cracked open my dad's copy of Jason X that I'd bought him for like Father's Day, and then I would go and track down just the DVD releases at the time at like half price books, trying to get them all.
Yep.
And I had like the whole set on that DVD that Noah has, except for the first one, which I had in a 2-pack with the second one on DVD. I was like, oh my
I
god,
do
it's the unrated cut.
I do remember what spoiled the Pamela twist for me because I did know that before watching the movie. It was some it was a review of the original Blu-ray set, not this one, the one that was in a steelbook or something
Yeah,
that came out that's
I
out of print
wanted that
now.
one so badly too.
I remember watching a review of that from the Flick Pick, I think, and he talked about the Pamela thing. I was like, oh, that was how for most people, it was Scream, who don't watch
I
these
was gonna say,
movies. That,
I think it was Scream.
yeah, that was how I found out. Like,
Now
oh,
it's just the
Jason's in
like,
the
can we
Killer reboot.
stop? That is not. You're
Yes,
not clever anymore. Everybody
it,
knows.
it's literally become the new. Did you know that Frankenstein was the name of the scientist and not the monster? Like that's what it is now.
Yeah.
It's like yes, everyone knows.
Meanwhile, we remembered this guy's in the movie.
He's at diner.
Yeah. That's Noah's favorite place to eat. I don't know if you knew that.
Uh, uh, one last
No,
thing I
because
want to say about.
I cut it real quick just to follow up on that. Because I still get those like top 10 things you didn't know about, like Friday the 13th. And every
Hmm.
time, number one is Pamela Voorhees was the killer in Friday the 13th, not Jason. I'm like, you don't fucking say.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, no, the last thing I want to say about that strip monopoly scene, to quote my favorite cinema snob joke, is sorry, but playing a game for 3 hours just to see some boobs only to end up broke and in jail does not sound like my idea of a good time. Like, Monopoly's a really fucked up weird game.
It always makes me laugh when people now are like, oh, kids are too reliant on technology. Yeah. In your day, we sat around and played a board game for 3 hours to get naked.
And another thing I should have mentioned earlier as like my early exposure to this franchise, like back when I'm a kid, is the TV show Psych, which I bring
Mm,
up all the time. That has a great Friday the 13th parody episode in season 3. I don't
yeah,
know
I
if you remember
remember
that
that
one.
vaguely.
And there's a scene where the characters play like strip cribbage or something. And the one guy, of course, they don't show explicit nudity, but one guy is losing and he's completely naked except he still has his shoes on. It's great.
You know, something
And,
else that I think this movie has that we just kind of lost is there's sincerity to it.
mhm.
Yeah, nothing's happened for 30 minutes, but
A couple kills. That's something.
the movie's not like, isn't it crazy that nothing's happened in 30 minutes?
It's not meta. Yeah. It's I don't want to call it efficient, but it's competent. Let's say that.
Yeah, no, that's just, you get in, you have a good time, you get out.
Right. And that is how I feel weird about we should talk about this, the whole uh Cunningham versus Victor Miller debacle controversy lawsuit over this movie because for
Stupid.
context, Cunningham comes up with the movie, hires Victor Miller to write it, and it was like a work for hire job. And then Cunningham, and then Victor Miller has nothing to do with the rest of the series, and Cunningham stays on as producer. And then many years later, Miller sues for ownership of the rights because he wrote the script. But and he won that lawsuit, by the way, which is surprising. But I could never really pick a side in that, just because Cunningham is kind of a
They're both
hack,
idiots.
but also Miller, A, the title, like this was not his idea, and B, it's not exactly a profound script. It's not even, it's not
If you
Shakespeare
don't,
we're seeing
if
on
you're not
screen.
being paid enough, sue him over that.
Right.
You are purposely stopping new entries in this franchise
That
over
was
a
the
50
frustrating part.
year old movie. Both of you are hacks. One of you came up with the movie title, the other just went and watched Halloween and took some notes.
Yeah. And that's what killed that game, because that game was really popular and successful, and they had all this DLC planned that they just weren't allowed to release
There's
because of that
footage on
lawsuit.
YouTube of the Jason X DLC.
And it's really cool. I'm sad we never got it.
I will never
Uh,
forgive them for that.
and what's funny is we've now had multiple games trying to follow the success of that and still haven't hit on that level. Even if they're fun, even if they're enjoyable, like Evil Dead or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like we have yet to recapture the sensation of this game, of that game. But boy, we've tried. You know, it was just
And I
so
think
novel and fun when it came
the
out.
problem with all of them, minus like Evil Dead, I don't know what the fuck happened there. Just I've never heard a reason they stopped support.
It
Um,
just wasn't a huge hit. I enjoyed it.
yeah, isn't because I've played all of them. They're all just okay. None of them, other than Evil Dead, feel like I'm in that franchise. Texas Chainsaw to a degree, but Texas Chainsaw is also so fucking complicated.
That's what I've heard is the main issue with it. But with Friday the 13th,
But
to its
I will
credit,
give it
it's
that
mostly
game.
just walking in. It's just walking in the
Yeah,
woods.
it's just
With
walking in the
monkeys out.
woods. But I will give them credit is they did try something new. It's not just 1v like 6 or whatever. It's like
Mhm.
4v8 or whatever. Because they do actually have the family, which a lot of Texas Chainsaw stuff loses.
Which is true and really cool. But
That game's
Yeah,
so
now
damn complicated. And I feel really bad because the reason Austin wouldn't play with me anymore is because I didn't teach him. But I was like, I don't know, I'm figuring it out. This game sucks at teaching you things. You need to get a
yeah.
PS5 so I can justify my purchase of that game.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But
And then
man,
I didn't care enough about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I returned it
yeah.
because it was whatever. There's so many other franchises you could have done that for. Why that one? That's not even a franchise. That's one obscure movie from the '80s.
The only one I'm waiting on that's of course never been officially announced, and we did just get the remaster of the old The Thing game, which is fun and cool, but only The Thing multiplayer game makes sense. If it was like
I think the only
Among
reason
Us,
they're holding them back is because of Among Us.
yeah, but if it was that, but with the violence and the combat of like the Evil Dead game, I think you'd have a really cool blend there, where you
Yeah.
start a
Where's
multiplayer
my
match and you don't
fucking
know who the
Hellraiser
thief is.
game?
Yeah,
Especially because Hellraiser is built on like the mind bending visuals. That's got to be much easier to do in a video game.
Pinhead was in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, I played against him. They
That was
lost
good.
well, they've now delisted that DLC, but they lost all respect from me with that because they censored one of his voice lines because their
Oh,
player base are like 12. Because he had the line, "You opened the box, we came." People were abusing it, so apparently they muted it. But no, just imagine like a really cool Hellraiser game where you're like stuck in the box.
mhm. This scene's kind of cool. And again, it's something I'm surprised we never did again and try to flesh out just her in the darkness and then just getting blinded by like these
No,
floodlights
this is
coming
where the
on.
movie kind of starts to come to life. Like we're getting a little
Yeah.
bit of a pulse here.
It kind of sucks that her death's off screen.
Yeah,
You're like expecting her to get hit by the arrow and then we don't show it for some reason.
I wonder if that's missing footage.
Maybe. Gotta give Sleepaway Camp credit for that. That does have an on-screen arrow kill and it looks really good. And meanwhile, Alice is just hanging out again. And you probably mentioned this up top. Is this your first time looking at the 4K
I think I've watched this
copy?
one once, but this isn't. Yeah, this was a. I just want this on my shelf purchase. That
Because
I
the
must
steelbook
watch
looks
this.
so cool.
Yeah,
Brenda, that was her name. The one in the archery range.
oh. And now you know which one Brenda is.
Hell yeah. Also, one thing you were talking about earlier with like the grit and the charm of this movie, that's also where the low budget helps is like we are shooting in a real summer camp in some real cabins. Like I'm sure there's a couple of sets, but that just adds to the authenticity.
Yeah, and these don't feel like movie characters. They just feel like watching people at a summer camp.
Right. And an example of a movie that I think does that better is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where that is not a movie about character arcs or three-dimensional characters. Like they're just normal people. But that movie has so much more going on artistically and in terms of tension and shock value.
It is my favorite
And
proto slasher.
it's great. So
Except
while I
for
commend this
fucking
movie for that,
Franklin.
that also does. Well, yeah, Franklin's just the worst, but in a believable way. Like we've all known a Franklin. And I hope you like scenes of characters shouting other characters' names and looking for them in the woods, because this
Okay,
series will go back to that trope a lot.
okay. So this is just completely off base and everything. Um, but you remember that scene in Stranger Things? I think season three, where Max and Eleven are wearing the raincoats, and one is red and one is yellow. Do you think that's a reference?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Because one of them is wearing red and one of them is wearing a yellow raincoat.
If that's a reference, like that's actually a deep cut
Yeah.
reference. I respect that. That is a show not known for being subtle in terms of what it's referencing. And for as clunky and amateurish as this movie is, this is one of the more impressive shots of this movie. It's a long take. We're outside looking through these characters through a window. We pan up, pan to the side. We see the phone line's been cut. It's just one long take. Like it's actually good visual storytelling, which is not something Cunningham's generally known for. So good job, Cunningham. You directed that shot well.
Okay, so I can't find anything that's directly confirming this, but I'm pretty sure that you and I are probably the only ones that would have noticed.
Sorry,
What?
what?
Said I can't find anything directly confirming this,
Oh,
but
okay,
I
just
don't. I
the
doubt
raincoat.
anybody would have noticed.
I choose to believe it's a reference.
I also choose to.
And then if you ask the Duffer Brothers, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, totally. Yep, that's what you're going for. Sure."
Okay, so I did find one article from IndieWire, but they just list every movie that's ever had raincoats. They're like raincoats from It, Don't Look Now to Friday the 13th and Milo. Bright raincoats have long been bold splash of color to offset the darkness of horror projects. Thanks. I've
It's
also
true.
seen movies.
That's usually the purpose of a raincoat. Nailed it.
Ah, Jesus.
Now, one of these movies we have done a commentary on before, Friday 2, which we both prefer over this one. It's a
Everywhere.
much better directed movie. Yeah. Uh, 2 is a much better directed movie. It is a much better final girl. I agree with all that. Even though I would rank that higher than this one, there are still those qualities. There are still a few qualities that this has over 2. Like, it's cool that we get a cameo with Pamela in 2, but you obviously get a lot more of her in this one. That's the thing that stands out about this movie is Betsy Palmer scenes at the end are great. So it has that, and this one also has the Savini kills. The kills in 2 are a big step down. They're saved by a couple. There are a couple standout ones, but in terms of gore,
Dude does have
that
the
does
funniest kill.
yeah, the wheelchair one
That poor wheelchair guy.
who will show up in many a recap in the sequels. That's one they always come back to.
My favorite is I think the recap of four, where it's the people from two just recapping things they can't possibly know because they're dead.
It's fine. It's about the
This is
flow
a
of the
great
scene.
shot.
This shot's cool, except when this guy gets off screen to death. Like, oh, that was lame.
And that continues up to four?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because four does
but
that with the
then
mom.
it happens a lot in 7 and 8 because that's when Paramount really cracks down on censoring these movies and making them cut out all the gore. A lot of people get off screen to death in those movies.
I knew in seven they do. Does it happen in eight? I'm gonna
Not
watch
as
eight
much
in a
as
minute.
not as much as 7. Also, when they went into 8 making it, they knew, okay, let's just not make this as gory. Let's not bother because we know Paramount's gonna cut it all out anyway. And then they still had to cut gore down. It's like that's practically a PG-13 movie. Come on, Paramount.
Which is funny because then immediately you get to New Line and the ratings board just didn't care anymore.
Yep. Yeah, I mean the MPAA is still awful and inconsistent and annoying. And at least we get away with so much more in R-rated movies now than we could in the 80s. That's nice. But even so, you still have your Terrifiers and now your Toxic Avenger remake. Like we are still getting those movies released unrated because fuck the MPAA. And you know what? They're doing well. I'm fine with this trend. And of course, probably the most infamous examples of that in the 80s were Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, released unrated and good. I'm glad that those aren't compromised movies. And were hits, cult classics. And meanwhile, during the nap scene,
All right, I took a nap.
it's funny too because I know a lot of kids back in the day grew up watching these movies on TV, edited out, like with Joe Bob Briggs presenting. That's how a lot of kids first watch these, which is fun and cool, but also like if you're gonna watch these movies, that's not the way to watch them. Cut
That's
down.
just you have that experience.
Right.
Then, as an
And
adult, you can go back and watch the real versions and decide if you like it or not.
right. But then also when you go back to like this movie, you don't have to cut out a whole lot to make that TV friendly.
No,
Like this really isn't far off from what today would be a PG-13. There's just too much blood. That's the
I
thing
will
the
say I
MPA is still
do.
weird about.
I never watched the Joe Big Briggs, but I do have fond memories of when I had cable around Halloween season, just turning on AMC or Sci-Fi, whoever did
Yeah,
those. I just let it play, like I just washed over me.
those were the days.
Mostly that was the only way I could get people to leave me alone because nobody else wanted to watch them. You know what those bastards
I
never
remember.
played? Jason X.
Oh, put that on the Sci-Fi channel. It'd be perfect.
I'm pretty sure it was AMC because they do those every year. Those like Fright Fest or whatever.
And the Chucky movies. Like I didn't watch them on
Yeah,
TV, but I know they had a bunch of Chucky movies.
I maintain that first Child's Play movie is actually scary. Because that little bastard jumps out of everywhere.
See,
That and I think
I
that's the
know.
only one where you get they mix in the dolls with like children or small people.
Yeah, they
And
also have
there's
little
really
people.
disconcerting scenes where you can tell it's not a doll. And that somehow makes it scarier.
Yeah, they did everything. Um, so earlier you said the movie was picking up. I agreed. That doesn't mean it doesn't continue to have low moments like
We,
here when we
we we
see
had a
Ellis making
pulser.
coffee.
The pulse is getting lower, but it's still there. It's
He's making that coffee. Hope it's good.
that's instant coffee. I can tell you right now it is not. I don't know if you're a coffee drinker.
What are you
Instant
gonna do?
coffee is revolting.
I am not a coffee drinker, but I will take your word for
Instant coffee is like microwaving, uh, like a microwaved meal, but like the dollar store version. Like it's drinkable, but you're gonna hate yourself.
it. Like boxed wine. Like
Sure. Or what's another? Or like hot chocolate with water instead of milk.
Well, according to a mutual friend of ours, that's the correct
He's
way.
wrong.
Still working on it. Can we play the Rocky music over this? Add some more
This scene does
energy.
need some like music or something. Like, oh,
Or
there's a new movie out on Hulu that I want to watch. It's a musical, uh,
oh
but it stars Sadie Sink.
oh cool. I didn't know that.
I keep
Do you know
seeing
what the
ads for it
it
on
is?
TikTok.
I haven't
Uh,
heard of this at all.
I can find it. Hold on. I'd never heard of it, but apparently they're really paying for that TikTok advertising because I can't get away from it now. Odessa is a 2025 American post-apocalyptic musical drama film.
Ooh.
And okay, here's the weirdest part. The other actress that I know from this is Regina Hall. Do you know who that is?
I know the name, but I can't place
She
the
is the
face.
annoying sidekick in the first two Scary movies.
Oh, okay, okay. That lady.
She's
Sure.
in that
Why
for
not?
some reason.
And oh my god, the movie just came back to life.
Yeah,
Now Alice is screaming.
I love this bit of music right here. That wow, wow, wow.
Music here is great.
Yeah, look at that poster. That poster's cool.
Okay, I'm
I'm
intrigued.
I'm curious. I've
Okay,
never heard
well,
Sadie Sink sing.
yeah, it's a Hulu picture.
It is. They put out some decent flicks every once in a while.
Hmm? Now, here's a long scene that I actually think does work. That this is a long take of Alice like trying to barricade this door, and it's good tension. It feels very raw and improvisational, but in a good way because this character's panicking and
So something this movie does have in common with Friday the 13th, or with Halloween, sorry. And this is another scene where you can tell, oh, they're just looking at Friday. Is both of these final girls are incompetent because they just kind of wait for the killer to get back up and keep chasing them again.
that does happen in both. I'd still argue this is a female character who has more agency than you usually saw in dramas or action movies in this era.
No, I agree.
Which is common for horror in general. That's why the final girl trope is still
Yeah.
celebrated. It's like back in the day, these were our strong female characters, even though critics hated these movies.
Which is why I can't take anybody seriously when they're just like, oh, movies from back then hated women.
Yeah,
Did you watch it? The woman is
exactly.
the only competent character. But no, she does have a few moments where I'm like, why are you just standing there? Keep going.
Hmm. And of course, you don't know how you'd actually act in this
No.
situation
So
if you would go all the way and kill the killer, but at least
because
keep
I have a
running.
lot of friends that'll do that, like, I'd never do this. So it's like, you have absolutely no idea how you would react in this situation. You are
Right.
reacting by observing. Because I hate those memes where it's like, oh, only a movie character would do this. Like, oh, okay.
It's about balance, but I've always said you should be allowed to let your movie characters make mistakes or even do stupid things because that's what humans do.
He's like, where's that instant
Your
coffee?
protagonist should be perfect. Yeah. And in a minute, we're gonna see Tom Savini jump through this window. Did you know about that?
Oh God, no, I didn't.
It's the only scene I can think of where we have a quote unquote stunt double for Brenda. And I don't know, just what you tell me if you can tell if this is Savini. Just pay attention.
Yeah, that clearly was a different body type. That's
That's
fine.
like
It's
the
a fine
one
stunt.
stunt in this movie. That's fine. It's tradition though. It's our first Friday the 13th somebody getting chucked through a window scene, which we do 20 times in part 4.
Yeah.
If you like Broken Glass, boy, is this the franchise for you. But yeah, this everyone can agree is the best part of the movie. This whole chase scene with Alice, especially when Betsy Palmer pops up on screen. This scene's great. Who are you? Asks the audience.
Well, crazy to think we've had three Mrs. Voorhees, if you count just people that actually played her, not shrunken heads or.
Yeah, with Freddy versus Jason in the remake, and probably in the new show. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because we
Who was
know
it that they cast?
Linda
They,
Cardellini.
yeah, I really hope that's who she's playing. That would be
Right.
awesome.
Because that I was about to ask you that. I don't think it was confirmed she's playing Pamela. I think
No,
some
just
people
that
just
she's in it.
assumed. Okay, yeah. I would love that casting though.
I like the one in the remake, or in not the remake. It's the remake. In the remake, she's a glorified cameo. I like the one in Freddy versus Jason just because it's kind of funny how like awful she is. Because
And
it's
she's
just
also
because it's
way
not
older than this version.
because it's also. But I can wave all that away though, which is the weird part because it's all Freddy, and like that's just Freddy's recreation of her. And I
I
don't
mean,
trust Jason to know the difference.
right. He did mistake Jenny in part 2 for his mom.
Yeah.
So he's not the brightest bulb in the shed. We can't trust his memory. So that's actually fun. Did you know a young boy drowned? And to this movie's credit, it is cool that we give her a backstory. Um, a lot of
This is
lore.
this is a great monologue.
It's a good monologue, yeah. His name was Jason, and today is his birthday.
Einstein Kills uses that in the breakdown for their Friday song, and it's so good.
Is that the Jason Mom one, or did they do another song?
No, so they have a song just called "Thank God It's Friday," that is like a heavy metal song based on this.
Nice. I love Jason's Mom.
Yeah, it's
He's
so
got it
good.
going on. That song's great. Also, I don't remember if this was Betsy Palmer's idea or if this was something they almost explored in a sequel that never happened, but there was this backstory idea for Pamela because of course we never meet Jason's father in the series. That's almost happened a couple times, but that's never actually happened in one of these movies. But somebody's idea was like that, well, she probably had Jason when she was really young and it was out of wedlock, and her father's out of, or his father's out of the picture, and she raised him as a single mother, which obviously in the 40s or 50s would have been a lot more scandalous than it would be today. And part of her hatred for these kids is, projecting because of the how ostracized she was for that quote unquote sin, and it just adds more layers to the subject matter and the kills, where it's like, no, this is like an interesting character you could do a lot more with. Like there's some substance here. There are things you can expand on that I think are interesting.
No, because this thing that we've lost in slashers is the commentary on parents and family and.
Hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if X was inspired by this movie because it's obviously
Yeah,
inspired by slashers, but there's a little bit of Mrs. Voorhees, I think, in Pearl in that movie. I think there's some parallels you could find.
yeah. Like obviously, it's also looking at Texas, but
Yeah,
I think Ty West likes this movie.
for sure, for sure.
And
And
it
to
is
Betsy Palmer's,
astounding that Betsy Palmer did this movie, hated it, but still gave this such a good performance.
she doesn't phone it in. This paid for a new car.
Yeah. And
Good for her.
God bless her. I don't know if you've watched that like 6 hour documentary.
I've never watched the whole thing. I've seen
But
clips.
she's in that, I think. That or another one that I saw where like she didn't think of any of this for a long time. And then she started going to cons and like people like wanted to talk to her and she just embraced it. Like she didn't
Yep.
have that attitude where I'm like too good for this. It's like, oh, people liked this. Like,
He is that rare breed where she was always very blunt, very honest about her opinions, but was always cool with the fans. Like completely embraced the fans and the success of these movies and never shit on that. But of course, in like Freddy versus Jason, they did ask her to come back, and she said, "No, that script sucks. I don't need to do that." And like, so I respect the honesty, but also like she's not ashamed of her part in this franchise. You know,
yeah,
like that is really cool. And this is now like the thing she's remembered for, but that's fine. It's cool to be remembered for something. Most actors don't get that luxury. You know, for some actors it sucks. It's like, oh, really? That's the thing I get remembered for. But it just sometimes it just depends on how you look at it. And like we said, she doesn't phone it in. She does give a really good performance here. Okay, shoot her, Alice. Shoot her.
that's what I'm saying. It's
Take the
like,
shot. Take the shot. And you waited too long. It's not the actress's fault. It's just that issue of, okay, we have like a 15-minute chase scene here. It has to keep going. It would be anticlimactic if she just shot her and like, oh, that's over. It may have been better if she just pulled the trigger and like, oh fuck, the gun wasn't loaded. I forgot to load the gun. Something. I don't know. And I mentioned stunt doubles earlier. This is them doing their own stunts. Betsy Palmer and Adrian King are really beating the shit out of each other. Betsy Palmer even hit her for real, like when she's smacking her, and she's
that's
like, "Hey,
amazing.
they're our actors." Yeah, she's like, "No, like we're theater actors. It's what you do. You do it for real. Fuck you."
But no, just go try to find her bits of that documentary. Bless her heart. She looks back on
And
this fondly now, or did at
it's
the
really
time.
cool that she lived to be a part of all that stuff and got to talk about it. And that's what sucks about that show is Adrian King was gonna be in that, and I don't know if that's still gonna be the case. Now that
Yeah,
they're
I don't
starting from
know.
scratch, like that kind of blows. I was looking forward to that.
Makes me wonder if she would have been Pamela Voorhees.
Probably,
If
which
that's
would
the
have been
case,
interesting.
maybe it's better she's not.
But
I'm
the
not
current
convinced
lady
she
would be a
can pull
cool
it
choice.
off.
I don't know. Yeah,
Like, maybe it's not fair to judge her on this movie, but she's not the world's greatest actress.
right. Like I said, she's fine in this, and I do think she got screwed on the second one a little bit because she agreed to come back, but then was surprised when they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't really have a script. We just kind of need you to improv, and then you're gonna die." Like, so that's unfortunate, but it's nice that we see her at least for a little bit in the Saga one, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, that's a dead buddy. Get it together, Alice. Fine. It also doesn't help when in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise we will later get another final girl named Alice, who is arguably better and more remembered than this Alice.
Okay, hold
the,
on.
the,
Hold on. Which one is Alice? Is that 4 and 5?
yes, that is Alice.
Okay.
She's a
I
fan favorite.
mean,
No, I like. I
she's
mean,
in the
those
two
movies are
movies that
great.
I can't remember which is which.
That's part of why, because they have the same final girl. I mean, I do like Patricia Arquette a lot in 3, but then she's replaced with Tuesday Night in 4, and then is killed early. So like that character doesn't amount to much.
You say that to all the
But
part 3 people that came back.
yep, that's my big frustration with Part 4.
Well, at least
This
Robert Englund was still good.
That's true. This franchise I'm conflicted because part of the charm of it is we almost always get a new final girl. We're always moving it forward, but there are a bunch we almost like Alice at one point may have been the main character too, but instead she's killed in the opening. And Ginny in two we almost bring back in three, and that one I'm a little sad didn't happen. I
That one I
wonder
am sad.
how
I think 3 would instantly be better if you had Ginny or anyone but whatever her name is.
the. Do you know what the original plan for three was?
No.
It was gonna be Ginny in a mental institution, and then Jason tracking her down there and
Be
trying to kill
cool.
her, which we do in many a slasher, but that probably would have been better than what we got.
I mean, anything would have. 3 has the worst final girl.
It does, and again, I think she's fine. Like, I don't blame the actress, but yeah, she's not my favorite. The worst final girl, who is not the worst actress in that movie. That's that other
No.
lady. And this fight's still going, but it's fun.
Uh, but at least the girl with the worst acting has a memorable theme. Like, I remember that scene. They're all
Yep.
dead. Oh God, Tony's dead. I don't remember what name she says.
It's so good. No, she's Shelly's dead.
Shelly's dead. While she runs down the weirdest staircase.
I don't know if I love how much I hate her or if I hate how much I love her. It's one of those two. She is a standout.
She's dollar store Cheech and Chong. You can't tell me that's not what those two were going for.
Oh, and that's the one when we were like, okay, what is this friend group? How do these people know each other? Why are they hanging out? Like, this does not fit.
This was an excellently well cast group of people that somehow know each other.
Alice, run. This fight's really fun though. Like when she picks up the oar and she cuts it in half with a machete. Like there is some good
Yeah,
choreography here. And
it's
again,
just
it adds.
it's Teddy. I love how much I hate loving her. Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, Teddy.
It's good. No, we're talking about the Pamela Alice fight, which again has no stunt doubles. It's just these actresses beating the shit out of each other, which adds to the authenticity.
Yeah,
It's
that's
great.
what's great about this. It's about
There's a
family.
really good. And that's what's so powerful about it. She's like shoving her head in the dirt.
I love that.
What a dick
No,
move.
there's like a grit to this fight. It's not like, oh, this is a really choreographed fight, which is cool, by the way.
Mhm. And oh my god, the slow mo.
I love that awkward slow mo shot where she's like, and there's Tom Savini's hands.
And artistically, points for Cunningham, it parallels the opening of the movie with the choppy slow mo freeze frame, girl screaming, cut to
Yeah.
final card. See, set up.
Oh God, you
payoff.
really shouldn't have focused on the hand so much.
Nope. Also, if you look too closely at the neck, you can see like the toothpicks in there that were holding the fake head in place. Now, I've never been in this situation. I don't know if my instinct would be to get in a
I
canoe
absolutely would not take the boat out in the middle of the lake.
in a lake, not even a river. A lake.
Yeah.
Maybe she's trying to get to New York. I don't
Is
know.
this the best jump scare in like cinematic history? I think it might be.
It's one of my favorites and will be copied many a time in this franchise and never as good.
I do kind of love the part 3 one just because how stupid it is.
It's the worst one.
I don't understand what's happening.
I also love the music here. It's so different from the rest of the movie, and it's shot well too. Like this is very pretty.
No, this isn't a everything's going silent. You can tell a jump scare's coming. No, it's just
Yes.
it's over. There's a happy ending.
We see
Just
the
fucking
police.
kidding.
This is one of the
And it's
best
funny
shock endings ever.
because the Thank God It's Friday song, which I'll send to you after we finish, emulates this because the song kind of tapers off into a piano piece and then it jump scares you into the next scream section. It's awesome.
Yeah, like am I watching Twin Peaks? What is this music? I don't know, but it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's a like gorgeous shot.
No, it's some of the best photography in the movie.
Shauna's
And
Cunningham
a
was like,
little
yes, nature will do my job for me.
and of course this ending comes later. This is not in the script.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best parts of the movie. And zombie Jason looks great. Little kid zombie Jason. No, this
Yeah.
is a perfectly executed jump scare. Oh my god.
And I can just imagine just scaring the shit out of people in the theater.
Okay, my actual okay, my second biggest complaint with this movie. The snake thing still sucks and pisses me off. We talked about it earlier. Uh aside from the clunky pacing and whatever, my other big complaint with this movie is I wish the movie just stopped there.
I was just
I
about to
don't need that
say,
to be a dream.
I've never had this before on a watch through. I kind of wish you just ended it there.
It's so scary and shocking. And fuck man, that's great. And then just kidding, it was a dream. And it all the more just rubs salt in the wound when Alice is just killed in the opening of the next one anyway. Like you could. I'm usually very sensitive about killing final girls in sequels and how we handle that. It's something I have very mixed feelings on depending on the movie. The Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, we've talked about before. Great movie. Ending is weird and doesn't work.
Both these
Literally
movies.
not a great ending. Yeah. This movie, though, totally earns it. And just zombie Jason pulling her under the water. And the criticism I've heard is like, well, but the series wasn't supernatural yet. Like, that's a cheat. You can't do that. Who cares? That's what makes it shocking. It's a campfire story, you know? It's a story to scare teenagers. Like, the zombie Jason works because you don't see it coming. It's awesome, and I wish the movie ended there.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't telegraph there's a fucking jump scare coming like most modern ones do.
Yep.
Like I remember going to see the first It in theaters, which is a great film, but at a certain point, it's just like, oh, yeah, there's a jump scare coming. Come on,
There's a jump scare. Yep. 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 Yep.
very very scary,
Also,
much creep.
also, this line is great. Then he's still there. Spoiler alert: no, he's not. He got out at some point. I don't know when, but come back for movie 2. Don't worry, we already did a commentary on
12.
it. You can go watch that. And then they never made another one again. Complete story. Wake up, John. We got another movie to watch.
We do. Well, folks, that was Friday the 13th. A very cool horror picture. If you're
Yeah.
watching after the fact, we do appreciate it. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. We'll talk at you guys next time. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We have a whole other movie planned. What were you going to say, Robert?
Oh no, the gist of it. Okay movie. It's not one of my favorite. It's definitely like bottom half of the Friday series. It's still not bottom tier for me. Like I like this movie enough. It's not a great movie, but I think it's fine. It's
Yeah,
watchable.
it's cool.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Prefer the remake. Hot take in some circles, but I stand by it.
Yeah, I think I'm because I last time I watched this, I gave it a 4 stars. I think I'm going to bump this down to like 3.5.
Yeah, I'm 3.5, like at the most.
Anyway, all right, so we are going to take a quick 5 minute break. Robert and I both have to switch out discs,
Yep.
etc. So don't go anywhere. We will be back soon. Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
Robert, I forgot to grab something. Hold on.
Oh my god. I have to hold down the fort. Welcome, people, back to watch the remake, Friday the 13th, released in 2009.
Yes, we are here to watch the Friday the 13th remake. Ta-da!
Your Arrow 4K. You are finally watching this
Yes.
for the first time.
And what's cool is that this is a 2 disc set because they put each cut on its own disc. So we are watching the killer cut. And this might be my
Of
favorite
course.
thing, a Camp Crystal Lake postcard.
I love. I always love stuff like that come with Blu-rays. I just then never know what to do with them,
Same.
which is unfortunate. But I do appreciate it. Do more stuff like that, studios. I like little extras.
And we
And
get a little
collectibles.
booklet because this is just now turned into kind of an unboxing.
And when this was announced, this came out of nowhere. Of all the Arrow 4K
No, I know.
deluxe treatment films we could get,
And specifically, it's the New Line era.
yeah. Well, when this came out, we didn't even know we were getting the other ones, and now they're like, "Yep, we're doing them all."
Yeah. Um, but no, it's cool. There's like headlines that have to do with the movie, like boy drowns, missing. On the back, cops
Yeah.
can't find crops. And then I'm not going to unfold it, but you get the poster. The main thing that I like about this, other than finally getting this on 4K, is it finally gives this movie some artwork that is like not generic.
Yeah, the artwork is really cool.
Um,
Show that cover one more time.
yeah, because you get the both versions of Jason. Unfortunately, it seems this is going to be the universal artwork for these, and it doesn't work for Jason Goes to Hell
It
if
does
that cover's
not.
real.
Yeah, but at least Jason X will make sense because you have
Jason X, I
regular
expect
Jason and
something
Reboot Jason.
cool.
And Freddy versus Jason, that'll be like half Jason, half Freddy. I expect that to look awesome.
Yeah, and I will be
And the
buying them.
and the killer cut of this movie, we should mention, unlike the first movie, which is at most a minute longer than the theatrical cut, this is like a good few minutes longer.
Yeah,
With some of the gore and the sex scene in particular. This is actually a few minutes longer than the
I
version,
love
and
that it's the
the
sex
death
scene of
version.
all things that they had to
Well,
trim.
that had to cut it down because that's the only way they could get an R. And I say shame on them. You shouldn't censor art and
You
method
fucking
acting.
would.
It has the best monologue in the movie.
So we're gonna watch this. All right, hold on. All right, welcome everyone to our commentary of Friday the 13th, 2009. Just for the
Yeah.
pre-recorded, one more time. Here it is. We are gonna watch the stupendous remake. Robert, sir, are you ready?
Nah, I'm ready to watch this
In
killer cut.
3, 2, 1, play. And I think it's been a minute since I've watched this. I don't have this one digitally, so I don't watch this a lot because I don't like to have to pull it off the shelf. But
New Line Cinema and Paramount Pictures presents.
and it is strange if you're doing all the new lines, why you started with this one and then are going back to Jason Goes to Hell.
That is an excellent question. I thought you were going to ask why we remade this before we remade Nightmare.
Nah, because there was no order to any of these remakes from Platinum Dunes. They went
That's
from
true.
Texas Chainsaw to the Amityville Horror to the Hitcher.
I do like these red production logos up front. It's
I
kind
would
of
like
cool.
that more for Freddy. I would think with
Yeah.
Jason, you'd want to go blue or white, water or something.
The red, the blood, I get it. I don't like the typewriter font
That
opening
feels like from
credits.
their Texas Chainsaw Mask remake, and they were just like, eh.
Maybe. Uh, hey, at least this movie got the date right. It's June 13th, 1980. Yes, I'm looking at you, Friday the 13th, Part 4, that says
Look how
Pamela died in 79.
hung
That's
up you are
incorrect.
on this. And this is the only Platinum Dunes movie to get the 4K treatment.
Well,
And
gotta
I
start
think
somewhere.
probably the one that's remembered the most fondly. Texas Chainsaw probably is up there.
This or Texas Chains. The difference is Texas Chainsaw was a big hit initially. Of course, critics weren't too impressed, and purists of the original certainly weren't impressed. But like that was a big commercial hit. Like that kickstarted this whole
Okay,
fucking
so
thing.
Robert, I have to ask you this because this does open up a can of worms.
Yes,
Is this immediately the next summer after he drowned originally, or is there supposed to be a time gap like there is in the original?
I think the former, which would make more sense.
And that's what I was saying because I like the idea that he was there and he actually did witness it. Because that is something that is only speculated on in the original. Because we don't
Yes.
care, we're not going to deal with it.
Well, this opening, it's both a truncated version of the first movie, where of course you have Alice here decapitating Mrs. Voorhees, but it also feels tonally more like the opening of the first movie when Pamela commits her first kills.
I do wish it was a little like less choppy.
Right. I like the black and white's cool, but I do wish this was a proper scene. I do wish this was a little longer.
Because you could honestly shave some of that like 20-minute cold opening to make room for some of
Right.
this.
But and it's funny because I guess you'd call it a prologue or a tease or whatever, but then our actual cold opening will be 20 minutes. Which, you know what? I kind of respect them for.
Okay, so
Because
that's an
that's
idea I
fun.
forgot about that I do like. Because obviously at this point, everything about Jason is the stuff that you know. So even though he didn't really carry a machete around with him, now he does. Now he has to get the hockey mask quickly. I like that it's the machete that she cut his head, her Pamela Voorhees' head off with.
Yes. Earlier, when I pitched how I'd reboot the first movie or how I'd remake the first movie, is I would get to the third act where Alice kills Pamela with the machete, and then I'd do the jump scare surprise with Jason, where then Jason kills Alice with the machete. And that's your ending. So the Pamela dies and then Alice dies, and oh my god, Jason, and then that leads you into the sequel. Just take all those ideas from the sequels and just mush them together. Uh, but
I
then
understand how you
now
can
we
hate
have
this movie when it's like, oh, like it's not even subtle about how terrible these people are.
well, that is, to be fair, the trend of the 2000 slashers, where it's like, well, the characters are supposed to be awful because you want them to die. You don't see that a lot in the 80s. There are
I'd
exceptions,
argue
but
there's always at least one in every
there's always
80s
at least
slasher.
one. As much as I like this movie, I don't need most of the characters to be like that. I could use a couple more
Argue that
likable
when you get to
people.
the main cast, most of them are likable. Really, it's just Travis that's
It's
the
just,
awful person.
was it Travis or Trent? Now I'm
Maybe it's
second guessing
Trent.
myself. I
I think the actor's name is Travis.
Okay, maybe because he's also in Transformers playing the same character.
Same character, but not as memorable because that movie
Well,
sucks.
oh, well, what matters is that franchise is canon to this. And I think that's great.
I
Jason
love
versus Optimus
how
Prime. Let's do it.
I I love how Friday the 13th this is. They're not on vacation or like here to take care of kids. They're here to find weed.
Yeah, that feels like a good modern update.
Well, no,
Hey,
because I was
John,
thinking about this because I pulled up a review of the 4K just to see how like the picture quality was, and picture quality, audio, and special features all got 4.5 stars. Story 1.5.
you,
Mm,
you know what we're getting here. Come on.
this is
Hey,
the 12th
John.
movie.
John, do you remember that really old movie, The Empire Strikes Back? The
No.
one with the walking thingies?
Okay, so I hate this line where he says, Heineken, no, fuck that Euroship Pabst Blue Ribbon. That is ripped verbatim from Blue Velvet.
Of course it is.
Because
I forgot about that.
I in the theater I was like, wait a minute, that's the Blue Velvet line, because Dennis Hopper's character in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it, asks the main character, what do you drink? And he's like, Heineken, and Dennis Hopper explodes, Heineken, fuck that shit, Blue Ribbon, and I just stole it for this movie.
Yeah. That would work better if I believe that this character has seen Blue Velvet and was just quoting that movie, but I don't get that vibe at all. I have seen
I,
Blue Velvet, by the way, but it's been a long time.
I think
I need to
somebody
revisit.
behind the scenes has seen Blue Velvet.
Yep. What I do really like about this scene is this is our homage to the campfire scene in part two,
Yeah.
where we're doing some recap. We're talking about that's the part of the conflict of interest. It's either cut that flashback entirely and get all that backstory here and make this scene longer, or make the black and white flashback longer. Right? The balance here is a little wonky. I don't hate it. It's just an observation. Because spoiler alert, we're not in the real movie yet. We're still in prologue territory, and we'll be here for a while.
Well, and what's annoying too, and I have a problem with this throughout the whole movie, is you never get a great look at Jason. You get some better shots when he has the mask. I have no idea what that looks like. They're almost ashamed to show it, but they have to
Oh,
do it because it's part of the lore.
yeah, I never had that strong of a feeling. I think we see enough of him by the last third. And to be fair,
Hello, Jareth.
oh hey Jareth, how's it going? If you go back to some of the earlier movies, like two or three, like yeah, you hardly see Jason for like the first half of those movies.
No,
Um,
but he also doesn't get a wardrobe change 20 minutes in. Like I want to see
I
the
mean,
bag design.
that's fair. I'll give you that. We only get a couple glimpses at it. But in the case of part three, I mean, he doesn't get the hockey mask until over halfway through, and that's
No,
when
but
we
then when he
start
does, you get
building
a
up.
big money shot of him in the mask. And this
Mhm.
movie gives you more money shots when he has the mask. It almost feels like ashamed to show you the bag.
Yeah, it definitely threw some people off at the time. Like, why does he have a bag on his head? But that's part two.
That
We're
should be
ripping
the
off part
new,
two,
like, oh, did you know this? Because I do
right?
think it has fallen through the cracks.
And I don't mind Baghead Jason in part two. I think he's fun. The hockey mask is obviously better. He is a lot cooler in the game when it's Kane Hodder's build
Yeah.
with the Baghead.
No, he's
He's a
just
lot more
kind of
threatening.
bumbling in part two because we haven't figured out who Jason is yet.
Yeah, exactly.
This stuff is funny. I think this is funny. Where he's just like constantly talking and doesn't understand that these two are basically fucking around him.
And right off the bat, um, yeah, we get our first boobs in this movie.
So let me ask you this, because I think you could make an argument that while this is a blend of the first four, in some ways you could argue it's a pale imitation. Do you think this works as an imitation of what made those movies successful? Or is it like, yeah, this is fun, but if you want the real experience, go watch those old films?
Yes and no. It's certainly because I think I actually do like this movie more than you do. It is missing some of the charm and the quirky quality that makes those movies stand out that I am kind of missing here. But as a horror movie, I think it does capture
Look
most
on
of what you're
that guy's
looking for.
face when he turns around. Whoa, Jareth with the hot take. He says, I prefer the baghead over hockey mask. You do you, my guy.
I
There's a
do
reason that hockey mask is iconic.
yeah. Speaking of which, I'll go ahead and show it off. I do have the Part 4 Jason figure, which is one of my favorite Jasons. He's got the hockey mask. He's great, but there is a remake figure I kind of want that comes with the bag head. That if
Cool.
I get the remake figure, I'll probably have it with the bag head displayed. I do need the Part 7 because that is the
It
best
is the
looking
best.
Jason. My friend has that figure, and I'm so jealous. He
Cool.
also has Roy from
That
Part
is
5.
probably my third favorite Jason design. That's a ranking video we got to do at some point.
Well, this is just the Part 3 one, but he's got the axe mark in his head. He's a little
Yeah.
dirtier. It's
No,
pretty
I like the
fulsome
part
Jason.
4 a lot. Part 7 is the best. I won't hear otherwise. And then
Yep.
we've talked about it. I hate that movie, but I'm quite fond of the Part 9 Jason design for the like 5 minutes that it's in that movie.
He looks really awesome. And I do like Jason's look in this one. I get what you're saying. He is in the dark a lot. And the bag head, yeah, would have been nice to get a better look at it. That's fair. But like I do think his jacket's pretty cool. He looks a lot like the
I
Freddy
like
vs.
the
Jason
final
because
Jason
that has the
design.
jacket.
I like the final Jason design, like what we're using for our background on the stream, if you can see it. I like that one a
Mhm.
lot. It's just it don't sometimes in some shots in this opening, it feels like we're cutting away around him so that you don't have to look at the back too much. So like,
Right.
don't worry, he's gonna get to the hockey mask.
Yeah. I think it would be better if we were doing more POV shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
That
should
would
go
be
all the
cool
way. Make him more of a boogeyman where we just don't see him.
for this opening.
Uh because we just got our first jump scare where it's like, he's standing there. Which is a lot like a Leatherface gag and
And we do have to talk about this. Jason is brutal. One of the kills
yeah,
that's
he
gonna come up
is.
here in a moment is like, holy shit.
It's awesome. And I like the setup with the locket we got in the opening. I like the payoff to that. We get a little bit of Ginny from
I
part two.
have I have one problem with this opening, and it's the first time I watched this, I didn't realize when you get to the end of the movie that that was her. I was like, wait a minute, who the hell is this?
That's fair. I've never had that issue.
It
I
doesn't ruin the
like the
movie or
final
anything. It's
kill
just,
misdirect.
yeah,
Well, and it's a new layer to Jason's character that I do buy. Much as some Friday fans hated this at the time, like that's not my Jason. My Jason doesn't run. All that stuff. Like Jason finding a girl who looks like his mom and keeping her as like a pet because she reminds him of his mom. That checks for me. I like that.
I'm fine
That's
with
a kind of
that
fun
for
idea.
the. Yeah, I've come around to it with age. Like I've definitely liked this movie a lot more as I've gotten older. I like
Mhm.
that for an alive Jason. If you did that with zombie Jason, I'd be like, what are we doing?
That's fair. And whatever your thoughts are on this movie, I am really sad that this never got a sequel. Because Derek Mears
Yeah,
is great. You could have just made just a balls to the
this
wall
is
sequel. Like, yep, Jason just doing Jason shit.
so. You said you like this more than me, and you might, but I will say right now, just off the top of my head, I don't remember where I have it on my official ranking. I like this better than 1, 3, 5, maybe 8, even though I like 8 more than you do.
Hmm.
Jared says, I got to see the cast of this movie last year at Spooky Empire. They all seem really nice.
That's cool. I hope they're proud of this movie.
Oh, and you know what, Robert, I was thinking about this. I don't remember if I messaged you. We forgot to put the stand on our ranking of the He Made Me Watches. Forgot to do
Yeah.
that after 6 hours. I'm probably going to have to redo my ranking of some of these. I keep feeling like I put the blob too low, but at the same time I didn't. I don't know. The blob is peak.
Yeah, as far as the remakes go, I think the Blob's still at the top for me. I like some of the visual storytelling here. I like finding Jason's old name carved on his little bed. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
these two are fucking.
Fuck it, let him watch. I just want to get laid.
And that's the thing. There are some characters like this sprinkled throughout those older movies.
That's one of the casualties when you're taking 4 films and crunching them into one.
Right? Like this movie, it doesn't have a Tommy Jarvis, but I also don't think
Oh,
it
I don't
needs
agree
to
with
have one. Like
that.
that's what you do in a sequel.
I think Clay is their Tommy Jarvis.
Um, I think he could have become that if we brought him back in a sequel. Because Clay is their Rob from part 4, the guy looking for his or wanting to avenge his
Yeah,
sister.
but
Jerry's a guy put
he's
there.
got some Tommy in him, I think.
That's fair. I give you. Okay, the problem with Tommy though is he's a completely different character in each movie.
Yeah,
So you're really talking about part 6 Tommy, which
yeah, he
is fair.
reminds me of Part 6 Tommy, is what I
That's fair.
should say. Slasher Fred, even though the 2009 movie is a remake of the original movie, it is also a remake of the sequel. Yeah, we were just talking about
So
it. It's the first 4 movies just put in a blender.
well, and I
And the only thing
remember
of note from the third movie is him getting the masks. That's all that's in here in part 3.
that's it. Well, and yeah, I remember seeing reviews of this movie where a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's just the first 3." And once I actually watched these for myself, I'm like, "No, there's some 4 in here." Like the
Yeah.
guy with the sister. Like, what are you talking about?
No,
No, there's
arguably, when you get to the main bit of the movie, the friends on vacation at the camp, or at the lake house, that's all 4.
that's very 4. Um, it would be. I think it would be better if our first glimpse of Jason was this shadow shot we're gonna get of him outside the tent. Maybe this is where we first should have gotten a glimpse at him because this shot is awesome. Coming up.
There is a shot coming up that's probably the best glimpse you get at Baghead Jason, where that guy's backing away, or where the final girl is backing away and he just like rushes at her.
Yes, and
So
that
good.
part's great. Um, and Jareth said that his main problem with this movie is that there's no camp setting. You get a little bit of it, and to be
Fine, because we
fair,
also get away from that really quickly in those original movies.
we do. That's the first, but by 3, it's just teens hanging out
Yeah,
at a
because
bar.
think about it this way, Jareth. Not to argue with you specifically, just because you brought it up. The first 2 are about camp. We don't go back to a camp setting until part 6.
Right. And even then, we don't even do a lot with the camp setting, like, having kids there until part
Until
6. Yeah, there is.
that's a great shot. But yeah, see what I mean? That is, I think it's the shaky cam. I can't
That's fair.
see what's happening. Slasher, the original movie was basically a murder mystery where you had these characters in isolated places, basically retelling. Uh,
That's definitely true. Or it would inspired it. The problem is it's a who done it where you don't set up the who.
who done it?
This scene I love. The guy in the bear trap and her. This is one of my favorite riffs on the sleeping bag kill. This is so violent and fucked up.
So brutal.
I love this
And
scene.
the fact that he makes the other guy watch. Oh,
Yeah.
this case, it's got a little bit of sadism in him.
Yeah. And again, a lot of fans didn't jive with this at the time. They're like, "Oh, the Friday the 13th movies, they're supposed to be fun and corny." And that's remembered now, but when the first movie came out, like they were trying to make as shocking and as dark a movie as
Yeah.
possible.
This capture this is a perfect blend of what that first movie is trying to be and what the
Yes.
franchise became.
I
Jared
think
says, I agree with all that. I just wish there was more camp in all the movies. Yeah,
oh,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
I guess.
If we got a sequel to
There's
this
12 of
movie,
them. At some point, you have to stop with the camp.
because he's in space.
Or in New York. I mean,
If
Vancouver.
right, if we got a sequel to this movie, I wish we did like a winter camp setting. I have always wanted to see a winter camp or a winter
That's what I
Jason
really
movie.
liked about that. Jason sleeps in the or hikes in the snow or whatever the fuck
Never
it's
hike in
called.
the snow. That's good short. That's good fan film.
And to be fair, Jared, I mean, there is a camp here. It's just you're kind of in the
Not in
remnants of it.
operation. Yeah. I love this gag
I
with
remember the
Pamela's
head.
head. Yep. A little reference to part 2.
Yeah.
And this is also a great scene when the machete starts coming up through the floorboards, cutting this guy up. Like, this is awesome.
Now, Robert, what is this guy's name?
Mike, I think,
Oh,
because I read the subtitles.
oh.
Because that's her boyfriend.
But Robert, isn't it unrealistic that a kid that grew up in the woods would be this strong?
Eh, he works out. He has to do something at the same
Robert, I
time.
watch cinema sins. I know how to critique movies.
I This sets up Jason's tunnel system he's got going on, where he's like underground and he's just
Yeah, I love
stabbing
the.
his feet.
I hated it at the time, but I kind of grown to love how insane that tunneling system is. How did that get
Oh,
set up? How did he booby trap all of it? I don't care.
he's had a lot of time on his hands. And I love that Jason using traps, like the bear traps and stuff, that makes its way into the video game. That is
Yeah.
an idea they pulled from this.
Really, Jason kind of feels like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs from when he
Oh,
kidnaps the guy's sister and holds her hostage.
I can see that.
Loosely.
The difference is, Buffalo's gonna kill that girl and skin her. Jason, just wants a pet. He wants a friend because she looks like his mom. Jason is more pure of soul than Buffalo Bill is, in my opinion. Even though this is really violent and fucked up. Aside from what we're watching on screen.
Okay, I take it back. That was a really good look at backhand Jason.
Yeah, no, you get it. They're just brief. We just don't hold on it long.
I don't mind it.
No, I think it's a cool take.
I like that. I like that he has the same outfit all the way through. Just he changes the head. It would have been cool if it was more like the burlap sack in the original, but I'm sure that would have been a nightmare to film around.
Yeah. Well, and also part of why they got away from the burlap sack in the original in the first place is it's just the look from the movie The Town That Shredded Sundown. Yeah. Like, it's just that look. And
that is a surprisingly. That is a really interesting film.
Oh, yeah. And
I don't want to see the Blumhouse movie remake / sequel.
Yeah, I've never seen that. This would totally be self-indulgent. At some point, I want us to rank all the sleeping bag kills in this franchise because there's like 4 or 5. This one I thought was awesome. This is one of my favorites. It's just so creative.
It's probably my third favorite. You can't beat the original, and then I'm sorry, but the one at Jason X is just too stupid.
It's great.
That is a great way to cut to credits.
That's a great. I just wish the title
card. The most generic title card.
Yeah, like you need
the Freddy vs. Jason one is so good too, where it's like skin and then it carves apart, like new metal starts blaring. It's so 2003, but I don't care.
I love how we're over 20 minutes into this movie and now the actual movie's starting. It's great.
Yeah. And there's Robert's favorite character.
Right. I mean, he has his moments. Or Chewie getting stuck in the back of the van. I know what that's like. I'm gonna fact check that. I'm like, I think his name is Chewie. Yeah, he's credited as Chewie Wong. Is that a nickname? Is that his real name? I don't know. That's just what he's credited as.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about not Owen Wilson?
He is the one that is there.
Yes.
I don't like him. I don't hate him. He just exists.
Yeah, and I want to complain and say that Chewie's probably like too horny, but a lot of the characters, he's the Crispin Glover of this movie.
So one thing I will say this movie succeeds at is when Daniel Panabaker dies eventually, I'm going to feel real bad about it for a second.
It's shocking.
Although it is kind of funny. Oh, she gives no shits and just immediately moves on to Jared Padalecki. She's like, "Oh, this guy's not a complete douchebag. That's a step up." I
Yeah,
don't buy what she's. I don't know what she sees in him. You know.
that's part of the problem. That's a trend that was really popular this time that I'm glad we're getting past, where you have like protagonist lady and you're doing like a love triangle thing, but of course the person she's with has to be like the most evil, horrible, awful person. It's like, then why should I like her if that's who she's dating?
I also love
It
how
doesn't bother me in this movie.
immediately this guy's like, "I'm gonna pick a fight with this guy."
Oh, he feels the competition. It's Jared Padalecki. He's like, oh no.
You know, and you get a little sarcasm. Obviously, I'm the one being a dick.
Yeah. No, so we recently did our commentary on the My Bloody Valentine remake with Jensen Ackles, and of course here we get Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, both the same year,
Yeah,
coincidentally.
I like this one a little bit more. At the end of the day, spoilers, but I think Jarrett Jensen is the better actor of the two.
Interesting. It's hard for me to compare just because I haven't seen them in a whole lot outside of this. Of course, I have seen Jensen in The Boys, which he's fantastic in, and of course,
I
voice of
think
Red Hood.
Jensen is
But
just more varied. Like he has a bigger range.
right,
Jared Padalecki has one thing that he does really well.
that's probably fair. And also, like, if we're just comparing these two movies, like these are very different performances, acting different things, asking for different things from these actors.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to do some Supernatural at some point.
For show. That's true, Slash for Fred. In both the original Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, the killers are motivated by revenge, really. Freddy wants revenge for the vigilantes who executed him, and Pamela wants revenge for her son drowning, which is
Those are
true.
both ideas that I still think should be fleshed out in another movie.
Yep. They both just take it a little too far. And then
Hey, Freddy
Freddy.
was innocent.
Everywhere
Maybe.
there's an Elm Street. What?
Hey,
We
listen.
run out of excuses in later scenes.
Listen. Part 6 is half of a masterpiece. It could have been the Jason X of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but it runs out of steam halfway through.
If you say so.
No, I love that every town has an Elm Street. What?
But no, I've always said Jason, he's a bit what I like about Jason, except for part 8, because that would fuck shit up. It's I like the territorial aspect of the character, where it's like, just leave him alone. Just don't
Yeah.
go there. He'll be
And
fine.
this remake touches on that too, because you have that one lady who's like,
Yes.
"We don't bother him. He doesn't bother us."
Yep. I like that folk legend aspect where like there are people who know about Jason and or have their suspicions. That's great.
Well, and I like that too, and then I like, especially when you get into those later sequels where he's kind of an undead thing that just cannot die. Is he is a spirit of vengeance at you for the bullied and the mistreated.
Well, and part of the fun of these movies, which some people just can't relate to because they find them gratuitous and mean spirited and cynical and too dark and whatever. Rich Evans from Red Letter Media said he likes Jason because Jason's the Hulk. It's just rage and
Yeah.
power, and there is a degree of escapism there that can kind of be fun to watch.
Well, and it's funny too that you mention it now because they did that Halloween or that John Carpenter ranking. He and I kind of have the same opinion of Halloween, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really like it's a well-made movie. It's not fun. It doesn't have the fun of like the Friday films.
No, it's about the suspense.
Yeah, Michael is the boogeyman, but Jason is he is anger. He's the Hulk. He's vengeance.
Freddy died by fire. Jason died by water. How can we use that?
Oh god, that whole scene should have been cut.
That movie is so interesting in terms of the editing of it because they cut a lot out, they changed a lot, but I mean it's still a fun, watchable movie. It's also kind of a mess, but
it is exactly what you want during specific scenes.
Yes, and it should have been Kane Hodder. That still
it should have been.
He's the best Jason. He earned it. That would have been the perfect send off for him as
Yeah.
Jason, because that was Robert Englund's send off as Freddy, and that's fun.
Yeah, we'll never get to see that.
Yeah. Jareth said that Jensen does a great Batman voice. I like his Batman voice. It's not my favorite, but I think he's good.
I didn't get to see him in enough before we started just doing Justice League stuff.
Yeah. And now that universe is
Although
over,
he does have
I
my
know what you're gonna
favorite
say.
Batman line. I should have sent you back to the orphanage. Or
No,
no.
I'm glad I sent you.
Yeah, I'm glad I dropped your counterpart off at the orphanage. Jesus Christ.
Good God. Yeah, and I mentioned earlier one thing that this movie, the charm that is missing is I could use more quirky characters. You get a little bit of that with like this lady and of course Chewie. But that's why 4 is still my favorite, because you get Corey Feldman, you get Crispin Glover, you get really fun, kind of more eccentric characters without losing the horror. At the end of the day, like it is a scary
The
movie with
trailer
humor.
line, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Missy, have you seen Whitney?
I've never had this before. Have you seen the '03 Texas Chainsaw?
Yeah,
I
that's on our list.
This has that same vibe, right? Like they're trying to recapture that. And I think it's because it's
Yes.
the same director.
Yes, I was going to mention that. Marcus Nispel. First
He's
film
clearly
was
trying
the
to
Texas
capture
Chainsaw.
that same energy that he got with that, and I think
Well,
it
and
works
after
better here.
interesting, because I do like that Texas Chainsaw remake. I really do. Um, I do. For me, this is just a more rewatchable movie, but that's just a taste thing.
I like his remake of Texas Chainsaw, but the problem that I do have with that is it does kind of just become a slasher film.
Hmm.
You know, it focuses a lot more on Leatherface. They kind of, from what I remember, it's been a long time since I've watched that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
They make Leatherface kind of just a slasher villain. They downplay the
you do
family.
lose a lot of his personality for sure.
He It just kind of feels like Marcus Nispel wants to make a Friday the 13th movie. But don't worry, his next movie was the Conan remake, and I'm sure that went well.
Yep, I was gonna mention that. Conan the Barbarian with Jason Momoa, who, I
Was
mean, that
good
could be great
casting.
casting. Yeah, but it was also
It
2011. Like that was probably too early in his career. I don't know. Yeah, that was a big
Probably.
ol' misfire. But one thing I want to talk about with this movie though is this was so the Texas Chainsaw remake, huge hit that launches all these fucking remakes from Platinum
Platinum
Dunes and
Dunes.
other studio that starts this whole thing. This remake didn't do badly at the box office. Like it made money. It just didn't make as much money as they were expecting. It made like 90 million or something. Uh,
So this made 92 million on a 19 million dollar budget.
which is a profit, just not what they were looking for, and also kind of the beginning of the end of this era because
No, because
everybody
they
hated it.
immediately the next movie kills it.
Right, which is funny because, well, this was the same year as My Bloody Valentine, the remake, which actually made more money than this, but also Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010. That made more money than this. That made over $100 million. It was just so hated by critics and fans that it really tipped the scales.
You know. Well, because then immediately they move into like the Purge movies and the Ouija movies.
And The Conjuring is a big franchise that takes
But that's
over.
not them.
Right. I mean,
I'm just talking about Platinum Dune specifically.
right. Yeah.
But no, it is a shame because I think this might be my favorite of the Platinum Dunes era.
It ranks pretty high for me too. I like this movie. Like, and for a movie that was so hated initially, I think more than any of the others, kind of got reclaimed by fans over time. Specifically, Friday the 13th fans who are like, "Yeah, no, it's a Jason movie. Like, this is what we come to these for." It gets most of it right.
I think it's
Uh,
that thing where because the last few movies, was Jason X, Freddy versus Jason. This is very back to basics. a lot of the fans were still in that mood for the
Zombie
supernatural
Jason.
out there. And then we've been starved of Jason content. So you go back and like, oh yeah, so they made a Jason movie. It's where
It's
they
on the
save for
list.
their Nightmare remake. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah, and here you get a lot of gore, you get a lot of boobs. What do you watch these movies for?
I will say, if there's one thing that they probably fucked up on is I think the budget for this movie is too high. I don't know why this cost $19 million.
I don't know either. Costs less than the Nightmare remake did,
Yeah,
which
but the Nightmare remake is
that's
also a
pretty
lot more
decent.
CGI. But like
Oh
looking at
yeah,
this
that is.
compared to Texas Chainsaw is only a $9 million movie. That's why it
Yeah,
made so damn
like
much.
this didn't need to cost more than $10 million. But I also don't care. I still
Yeah,
enjoy the movie fine.
yeah.
So and another thing that hurt this movie at the time that I think's aged it better is I feel like a lot of the discourse around this movie when it comes out is like, oh great, another remake of a classic. The original Friday the 13th movie was so much better. That was just kind of the accepted
Default. Yeah,
narrative for a while. And it took fans more years after that to be like, the first one's not that great.
yeah, and I think it also doesn't help. We're 6 years into this just onslaught. Texas Chainsaw, the Amityville Horror, The Hitcher, Halloween, even though that wasn't Platinum Dunes. We're tired.
Right. It just
Uh,
it came kind of late. Definitely a factor.
we've got Slasher Fred in the opening of the '09 remake. We get a flashback of Pamela's death. We get a reveal of Jason witnessing it, which was mentioned by Paul in the original part 2. Yep.
Yeah,
Jareth has
that's true.
always
And
liked
Jenny.
this movie. Sure, you have, Jareth. That's what they all say. And then Slasher, if you think about it, the first half of the original Child's Play is mostly focused on revenge because Charles Lee Ray wants to get revenge on those he blamed for his death.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then in a lot of
But
those
Chucky is
Chucky
also just an
sequels,
evil
he's doing
bastard.
whatever. Well, his other motivation is trying to get back into a real body. Takes
And
like
that
six
tracks through all of
movies
them.
for him. Yeah, but then by what movie 5, he's like, I actually like being a doll.
No, so funnily enough, you say that. That does not happen until Seed of Chucky.
Isn't that 5?
That is oh yeah, it is. Because Bride is
Nailed it.
4. But that is also the last minute plot twist of 5.
Yes.
And then in 6, it's just I'm just gonna fuck with people. And then in
Meanwhile, this
7, he's all of the Chuckies.
we are all Chucky. Meanwhile, this Jared Padalecki asshole is trespassing on this guy's property.
What an asshole!
Prick. Trent's really the hero of the movie, if you're
I
paying
love how she
attention.
just leaves with him. Like I don't know who this guy is, but he's mildly nicer than this guy that I came here with.
And he's also hot, so why not? And yeah, it is a leap you have to go with where it's like, yeah, girl, I don't know if you should just be going off with a stranger in the middle of the woods. It's probably not smart.
I really like Danielle Panabaker. I wish she'd been in more of these. Instead,
I
she
did
got
too.
stuck on the Flash for 9 years.
Yeah.
As maybe
What
she
is
is, maybe
this?
she isn't Killer Frost.
This isn't the first of her horror movies, right? There's something that predates this.
Um, I feel like there is. Hold on.
Like she's in Piranha, or Piranha 2. I just don't remember if that predates this or not. But there's another one I know I'm blanking on.
No, this is her first one. But then she goes. It's crazy. She goes back to back. This, then the Crazies, then the
The
Ward.
Crazies, that's it. Okay.
Girls Against Boys. I have not seen. And then Piranha 3DD.
Yeah, which I've never seen.
Uh, I've seen it. It's not as good as the first one, but I had a good time.
Is Piranha on our wheel for originals and
Oh, it
remakes?
should be. That would be so weird too because it's directed by Um, oh, come on, brain work. Damn it.
Jareth said that she's also in Mr. Brooks. I don't know
I
what
don't
that
know
is,
what that
but
is.
cool.
Is that a
The
horror
first
film?
thing I don't know. The first thing I
Okay,
see Danielle Panabaker in is Sky High.
same.
I see that when I'm a kid, and
It's
then
a great
years
movie.
later, I see her in this.
Got to get Noah to watch it.
Yeah, that is a good movie.
But that is directed by Alexander Aja, who directed the Hills Have Eyes remake, which is great,
Which I haven't seen.
and a French film called High Tension, which is
Oh,
I remember being pretty good.
is The Hills Have Eyes on our list? I think it is.
I think it is because I like that remake a lot.
Do you like it even more than The Crazies?
Yeah, it's probably better than The Crazies. But
It's
that's a movie where it's kind of a one for one remake, but they're allowed to go places that Craven just wasn't in the 70s.
mm.
Oh, The Hills Have Eyes is not on our list. I am changing.
Woo. Fright Night's on there, right? We talked about that the other day.
It is not.
No, okay, that's a couple to add.
We just added three more movies. God damn it!
Yay! And this guy fucked a mannequin. That's interesting.
I love how just like sleazy and gross this guy is.
He's like right out of part 5.
Yeah.
That's what they're going for.
Also, is this the only Jason movie where we don't get a look, like a proper look at his face?
No, we do. It's just very brief, and then of
But I mean,
course
like a
in
proper like, because in all the
Jason.
other ones they pause for a minute and let you see his face, except for Jason Goes to Hell,
Yeah, we never get him unmasked in that one.
which they do in the game, and it's a really cool idea. I don't know if you've
Now,
seen that.
oh yeah, it looks great. Um, I do remember at the time fans were like, "Oh, that's how he gets the hockey mask in this. That's so lame." And I agree,
Is
we
it
could have
any
done
worse
something
than
more
how it
clever,
gets
but I
in
also
the original?
it's tied to Shelley.
Um,
It's something.
Apparently, it's a psychological thriller starring Kevin Costner.
Oh, interesting.
Never heard of it.
I'll look into that.
Now I want to watch
Now,
Sky High. Damn it!
have you seen the deleted scene, the original version of that kill?
I
Because
don't
I
think
think I
so.
prefer it. So I think that was a solid kill. Like the neck slice, the blood spraying out looked pretty good. The original version they shot, that I guess didn't test well for some reason. Uh, the guy is stumbling around. He looks at that mannequin he fucked, and then he finds the hockey mask. He's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't played hockey in a while." He like puts the mask on, looks at it in the mirror, then in the reflection sees Jason standing behind him. Turns around, Jason grabs the top of his head, cuts his head off, decapitating him instantly, and is just holding his head with the hockey mask. Then takes the mask off and puts it on himself. It's very over the top.
Probably a little bit better because it is a little awkward where he's like, what's this over here? Oh, it's the hockey mask."
Well, it's. I think the logic of the scene is, well, the bag just came off, and it's like, yeah, just put it back on. It's like I don't
Jason's
know,
like,
like
"Oh,
it's
mask
fine.
cooler."
Like both versions, I think are fine, but I do
Do
prefer the
you
other
know
one.
about the alternate version of this kill?
Yes.
I'm really glad they didn't go with it because if I had to sit there and watch him drown her to death,
Yeah. Well, this is another obligatory top of the scene.
yeah,
And yeah, the original version of this kill is she's like stranded in the middle of this
like
lake
he just
alone. And
somehow ends up everywhere she goes until she gets tired and drowns.
no, it's he's standing there with the bow and arrow. And
Yeah,
he's
but
just
then she
watching her.
swims away, and everywhere that she swims to, he's standing there. If I recall,
Okay, I mean, now this footage I don't think has ever been released. I
I
think we
don't even
just
know if
heard
they
about it.
shot it. This was just like an alternate idea that they had. I could be
Right.
wrong,
I think that's what was the script.
but it
So
sounds like it would have taken forever.
maybe it also sounds like maybe they were gonna more explicitly do the teleporting thing originally, which I'm kind
Yeah,
of glad they don't do. I don't know. I think that could be a really scary scene of somebody just like of just being trapped in the middle of like somebody's just watching you and then just slowly drown. Like I think that can work. I just prefer what they went with
yeah. That
because
is
it's so funny.
disgusting.
That is disgusting and I hate it. I, that's Chewy. You don't need to be that much of a tryhard for attention and like I'm the lovable weird guy. No, don't do that. Don't drink beer out of a
I do
shoe.
like the idea of a bow. I wish they had it for more than just this obligatory kill.
Yeah. Again, it's hunter survivalist Jason, which a lot of people really hate, but I love. This is such a great surprise death.
This makes me wince every time.
Hmm. And also the bow and
Move out of
arrow,
the
it's
way.
just hey, we got the obligatory Jaws shot where we're
Yeah.
under looking up at her.
That's what I'm talking about. Ooh.
Oof. No, this is an effective scene. But the bow and arrow, like, it's an homage to the first movie. But those kills are off screen by
I would
Pamela,
have
obviously.
paid top dollar for them to have just Jared Padalecki or somebody come out in Indian garb and make those noises.
That would have dated this movie a lot faster. But I like Jason with the bow and arrow. A lot of people hate it, and it's that campground setting. Like, no, this he probably practiced archery when he was a kid. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's a thing he can do, I think. He's just standing there menacingly.
Interestingly. Robert, I think she needs a high hide right about now.
Yep. Always got to remember to pack one of those.
I like that this movie went to the Sam Raimi school of day to night. Yeah, it was like broad daylight 2 seconds
Yep.
ago. It's night now because the scene needs it.
It's fine. It's sunset. We're not like
That's
pitch
no,
black
that's not
dark.
even a criticism. I think it's funny.
Yeah, and with Danielle Panabaker, it's like I do think she could be more fleshed out and interesting, but she's also our fake out final girl, so I think it's fine.
Yeah.
We could all
I
like
wish
each
her
other.
death was edited a little bit more. I missed it in the theater when I first saw it. It's so quick.
It's very quick, but I've always thought it was great.
Also interesting that this is a the final couple is the siblings.
Yeah, that's kind of unique. I really like that. I wonder if they would have brought them back in a sequel. I don't know. And this is one of my favorite kills just because it's so funny.
It's so
Like,
good.
this is the gratuitous stuff that works for me because it has that cheeky sense of humor to it. And it's like, yep, that's what this franchise is, all in one shot.
Yeah.
I'm not a prude. I don't mind nudity in my movies every now and then.
You know, it instantly hides the body.
Mission accomplished. Jason wins.
No, because you
Do
know
you?
how there's that like growing thing where like younger people don't like sex in their movies.
Yep,
Imagine
it's a little
showing them
weird.
this movie.
Especially the extended cut. Oh, God, they'd panic.
No, it is clearly nighttime in these shots.
Now it's nighttime here. It's a 10 p.m. 2 in the morning. It's somewhere in
Yeah, it's
that.
somewhere.
It's like, really? You're just gonna investigate with this guy in the middle of the dark? You don't really know? Okay. And when I defend this movie, I hope it's clear. I'm not saying this is high art. I don't think this is Shakespeare or nothing.
No, this is
Time.
Shakespeare.
This is
Fuck you.
this is just what I come to this franchise for. It just kind of has everything.
Oh, Robert, you're gonna laugh at me by the way. I don't know if you noticed, but I accidentally scheduled two Last of Us videos last Monday, and was ass backwards. So part two came out before part one. I was like, fuck.
I think I did notice, but I was just like, oh, that's weird that I didn't think much of it. Clay. That's his name. Bill Clay.
I told you his name
The
was Clay.
subtitles were.
I actually
It didn't say
remembered his name.
What's Daniel Panabaker's name?
Uh, uh, Killer Frost?
Close. Her name is Jenna.
Oh, yeah,
Th-
because Travis was like, Jenna, what are you doing? Or
okay,
Trent.
I didn't remember if anyone said her name in this. She's just Danielle Panabaker to me. This scene is weird because with absolutely no context, they just see this guy way out in the distance and they're like, "Oh my god, we gotta hide."
I mean, they are
I mean,
trespassing.
it's the right choice. That's true. I don't know. This is a scene I think you could have drawn out a bit, made more suspenseful. It's very abrupt. Like, oh god, like
Well, no, but you're going to get the suspense in a minute because he's going to start throwing the boats and shit.
yeah, that's true. And oh my god, her friend is dead. That's sad.
But no, I think Danielle Panabaker had like a promising horror career, and then she joined the Flash and just
Yeah.
didn't have time to do anything else.
I mean, it's a steady job, you know. Good for her. I get why she's stuck with it.
Now, my question is, why is there still running electricity out here?
Yes. He's got a couple generators. It's fine. I hate canoes. Jason mad. How do you feel about Jason with the jacket? Because we first get that in Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah. He's kind of got a jacket in Jason X before he
Yeah, I
becomes
can't
Uber
tell.
Jason.
I can't tell what he's wearing in that just because it's so tattered and
Yeah.
worn.
No, this would make a top four Jason designs for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's about where I'd put it.
Which really sucks that like the only promotional artwork they released for this is that one image that I'm using.
Well, yeah. I don't. I actually like this poster. Just the minimalism of it. It's just him standing there menacingly.
Uh,
Uh,
I like that one. I think I like the other one better, where it's just the hockey mask. I don't know if they have that on there.
yeah, that is
Yeah,
the reversible cover
I
one.
like that
That's
minimalism
fine.
a lot more. Where it's just like, you know what this is. Here's the hockey mask.
Yep. And then I pulled out a couple more context because we talked about this during our Blu-ray collection video. You know, of course, a lot of these, you know, early Blu-ray releases for the first time with this set all had, you know, this original artwork on the discs, the reversible cover and stuff. And then you get to the later New Line movies, like Freddy versus Jason, where it's just the original Blu-ray disc. It's just like fuck it.
Yeah, we're not doing a new
I brought
transfer. We're not going to print a new disc.
Yeah, I couldn't show it on camera because I'm watching the movie, obviously, but the remake's the same way, where it's
Yeah,
clearly just the old Blu-ray disc artwork.
I'm glad this
Anthony
got a new
broke the
transfer
face.
because this looks really good so far.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask how you think the 4K, because some of these scenes do get pretty dark. It can be hard to tell what's going on, but hopefully the Blu-ray, hopefully the 4K didn't make it worse.
Yeah, no, not so far. I think it's more of an issue with the original, just because you can't really do much.
Yeah, because that was all shot at night. Yeah, you're right, Jareth. This movie is just an adaptation of Hamlet. A loose one, but it's there.
I believe it.
And yeah, he's got the system with the lights and the bells. He's got a security system. He's a smart guy. He's got some ingenuity. I like that.
What is he doing with the corpses?
And he's taking it to the corpse room. This Jason also has some hair, which is an homage to part two, which isn't my favorite look, but you don't see it much. They don't really draw a lot of attention to it, so I think it's fine.
Well, and we're inconsistent with that because part 9 has some hair.
Yeah.
Part 10 just has a full head of hair. They didn't care. And I like the part 10 look a lot, but
Oh, that I think is an underrated Jason because everyone goes to part 7 and rightfully so, with like the skull and the bones and the chain around the
yeah,
neck. Like it's the best one. A lot of that look is in Jason X.
it
And he
just
looks great.
cracks me up that he's no longer rotting and has like a full head of hair.
Yeah. Well, it's because David Cronenberg explains that he regenerates. That's his
Uh,
superpower. That's canon. Aw, see, this Jason's just sad. He just misses his mom. I like this scene of
talk
him
about mommy
sharpening.
issues.
Oh yeah, arguably. I like the scene of him sharpening his machete. It's something you'd never see, but just some good.
Now we
And
need
now
Freddy
he
versus
smashes shit.
Jason 2 with remake Jason and remake Freddy.
Oh god, he kills Jackie Earle Haley for Freddy in the opening scene, and then it's just the Jason movie for the rest of it.
Just as he has the plush of this and it has the strands of hair.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, if you guys don't remember, go back and watch Jason X. It's clearly just Kane Hodder's hair. Like, they didn't put a prosthetic on him or anything.
Hmm.
But no, I agree with you. That is an underrated Jason look.
Yeah,
And I like Uber
it
Jason a lot.
it's
I know he
something.
looks like something from Power Rangers, but I don't care. I like Power Rangers.
And like I said, I like this idea with the locket. They make that pretty clear visually that she looks like his mom.
Yeah.
Again, it's a nice homage to part 2. Also, as much as I love part 4, that is one of the clunkier moments of that movie is when Tommy Jarvis at the end is like, I know what I must do. I must make myself look like young Jason to confuse him. And it works. Smart kid.
It's not hard to outsmart Jason.
Also, what I like about this movie splitting these characters up is it does feel like there's more momentum building, having some of them already see Jason and know what's going on. It's not like the first movie and many of the sequels where the first 2/3 are just characters walking around who don't know that a killer's after them. This movie does get ahead of that.
Yeah, kind of. But then also you have that with most of the cast. It's just the two that find out, and the rest of them don't believe
Yeah,
them
but
until it's too late.
we also now have this Whitney character who's trapped and trying to escape. We got
That's
other things
true.
going on. And this is all cut, by the way. This is not in the theatrical version. Uh,
Oh, okay.
she's gonna escape and then get captured again by Jason, and that was all cut from the theatrical, which some people
Then it's
prefer.
been so long since I've seen that because to me that's just part of the movie.
Hmm. And some people prefer that cut because they're like, it's extraneous, it doesn't add anything. I think it gives more for her to do.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. You know, because part of why, not I guess part of why, but that infamous sex scene is a lot longer because in this cut she's gonna run up and try to get their attention, and then Jason's gonna grab her, and she doesn't make it in time, and in the theatrical cut that's all gone. That's part of why that sex scene's a lot shorter. And yeah, and I guess this is very Texas Chainsaw Massacre ish, which I don't mind because I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just this weird location this character's stuck in, trying to get out. Whenever we get that Friday reboot off the ground, though, I hope Derek Mears isn't too old, because I'd love to see him back. I think he's a great Jason.
Yeah.
Did you like that really low angle shot of Brie dancing? Did you find it
That make me a
artistic?
pervert if I say I did like it.
She is great. She definitely stands out a lot more than other blonde lady who died in the lake. That couple, that's part of what I like about this movie is you always have to have the couple extra characters who are just there, and we kill them off pretty quickly, so it's fine.
It's what Cabin in the Woods is making fun of with the girl and the wolf, right?
Yes. Oh, totally. Also, what she's gonna do here, a little shitty. This isn't cool. Don't seduce a guy into drinking a flaming shot, burning his
Yeah,
mouth. That's not cool. Friends don't do that. You tease, you know what you're doing. Bree or whatever your name is. Ew. This is so contrived, but I love it. This kicks off the broken stool subplot.
yeah.
That's gonna be the next 5 minutes of this movie.
I just love that this guy invited people over to his house and it's just like, don't do anything. Don't
Don't
breathe.
touch
Don't
anything.
touch
Don't
anything.
look anything.
Also, are you going to trust a guy that's been drinking to work on this thing?
Right.
At this point, I'm not sure what you do with the franchise. It's been long enough. Just give me a back to basics Friday.
Yeah, and if you want to twist on it, just set it during winter. Make it a winter camp movie. That's something different. More Jason in the snow.
Like, let's not pretend that they've done everything you can do with a masked serial killer at a camp. Come on.
Yeah. And look, it's a low stakes franchise. We just want to see Jason kill people in interesting ways.
Yeah,
It's fine.
just give it to the Terrifier guy.
Yeah,
Give it to Flanagan.
genuinely,
I want to see what Flanagan does
give
with
it to Flynn.
this.
He would dive into Jason's trauma,
Sure.
but he could do it well.
I don't know if you know this, but in the Freddy vs. Jason comics, Jason gets like smart because of the Necromonicon. It's really weird.
Oh,
Like they have him do the finger wag thing when somebody tries to get one up on him, and it's just I don't like it.
oh, weird. Jareth said a movie set in the early 2000s would be cool since we didn't really get that at the time. I moved that Freddy versus Jason. That's
Yeah,
tough
we
for me.
you got Freddy vs. Jason for the early 2000s. You got this for the late 2000s. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'd say
totally.
make it a period piece. Make it set in the 80s.
Yeah, at this point. Oh my god, we're at the stupendous scene.
And here's Robert's favorite scene of the movie.
I will neither confirm nor deny. Although I don't know if I've ever seen the theatrical version of this because I
I
know it's
have,
cut
but I
down a
don't
lot, but that
remember.
there's well, I heard it was very awkward for you.
Yeah, it was. For anybody who doesn't know, I was not quite. I don't think I was quite old enough at the time. I don't remember the situation, but my grandma took me to see this in the theater because I didn't realize there was gonna be so much sex. That was
In a
very
Friday the
awkward.
13th movie? No. That's a first.
Or I guess I should say this feels more sleazy than some of the later movies sex scenes can.
Not part 5.
I said later.
Now, which movie would you rather watch with her? This or Friday 5?
Uh, Probably 5 because I could just like she wouldn't understand what was happening in some of that scene, some of the scenes.
Alright, this scene. Now, this is contrived. Dude, don't. Just go to another room. Don't do that in the living room. What are you doing? Some people don't like this, what's his name? This Wade guy. I think it's fun. I don't get why people don't like him.
Fine.
He has that line earlier where that character's just like, oh, like, do you rap or something? It's like, oh, you're gonna profile me just because I'm black that I'm rapping. Like,
I
oh,
think
well,
the
what do you
problem
do?
might be
Rap.
there. To be fair, is that seems to be his only joke because he also does that when he's asked to pump gas.
But he's gonna try to save his boy Chewie. It's
Yeah,
fine.
here we are. So juicy, dude.
It's so juicy, dude. God, and he hated the perfect nipple placement. And he hated saying those lines, by the way. He was like, oh god, I don't want to say this.
I wonder
He
if
just
anybody
went
just goes up to him and says that.
Oh, I'm sure it's happened. Especially if he goes to cons and stuff.
This is where I'm confused. Like, are these two dating? Because she doesn't seem to care that he's sleeping with someone else.
Oh, well, okay, they are dating, but to be fair, she now knows that there's a killer after her, so she's not thinking about that right now.
Yeah.
It
Hey,
is funny
Robert,
that
there's a guy out there.
when this came out, it was criticized for the sex scene. People said, "Ah, it's gratuitous, it's too much," and then the extended one's like twice as long. Also, I'm like, it's
It's
a
still
Friday the
going.
13th movie. Like, shut up.
I mean, yeah. It's stupendous.
And
Jason's
Jason's
like,
like,
I
oh.
must kill. I do appreciate that even though they basically, this one just carries the machete, he still gets to be creative. Because that's what I like
You
about
still get
Jason
red.
over Michael. Michael's just like, I'm going to stab someone. I'm going to go stab
Yeah,
someone else. Jason's like, here's this fucking like weed eater. I'm going to
the weed whack.
whack somebody with this. Here's a fucking pair of hedge clippers. I'm going to shove somebody in the eye. Oh, Jared says he was at Spooky Empire and is cool about it now.
That's fun. And
That's good.
I'm with you, Jareth. I also like Part 5.
I have come around on it.
Weird. That's another one that for a long time was like one of the black sheep entries of the series that fans have kind of reclaimed in recent years.
Well, it's
And
just
again,
funny how all these franchises kept trying like movies and movies in. What if we did it without the character the people are there for? Friday
yeah, but
tries
they
it
got
twice. It's insane.
yeah. Friday the 13th is the only franchise I can think of where you have not one but two movies with final in the title. And
And
not
neither one
one,
of them is
but
the
two
front.
movies with new in the title. Neither of which
Wait, the New
continue.
Blood. What's the other new one?
A New Beginning. That's 5.
Oh yeah,
Both of which had new protagonists that didn't stick around. Or new
I
status
always
quos that didn't stick around, I should say.
I always forget about Five's subtitle.
Oh, yeah. I like, we talked over it, but I like the gag with Chewie when he has the hockey
This is a
stick and
great
he's
kill.
like, let's go with your outfit.
Yeah,
This kill's brutal. This one's like, this one makes you squirm. That's not a fun way to go.
and I like the way this is lit. Uh, like with Jason.
Yeah. Well, it's got,
Now
like,
Chewie deserves
again,
better.
yeah. Again, the kills, most of these kills aren't amazing or anything. Like, they're not the best from this franchise. But this is also a franchise with a lot of lame kills, especially in the later sequels when they were just cut down so much by the MPAA. Like, so this still fares better than a lot of them in my
Comparing it to the first four, where you're still ground by that, he's just a dude.
opinion.
Most of these are better than some of the first four.
Yeah, 4 has a lot of great ones. and two has a few standouts.
This movie needed a hey Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew? You know, that is one thing you got to give this remake for. There are not many, if any, like member berries. There's no repeated lines or like.
It's just, yeah, it's a Friday movie, so he has the hockey mask, and the sex scene's still going. So yeah, this is all cut out from the theatrical version.
Do you ever feel like they just kept rolling just because the director's like, this is hot?
I appreciate the method acting.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you appreciate something.
Oh God.
Yeah, God, I can't believe it's been that long since I've seen the theatrical cut. Then, because I like this is how I remember the movie.
Jason just wants a friend. Stupendous.
Jason just wants his mom.
He said the thing. He said stupendous again. Meanwhile, Jared Padalecki's trespassing again. Get him out of here. This is Trent's like, what have you been fucking this guy? As he was just cheating on her. So good. You probably missed it though, but when Bree, the other girl, comes down the stairs and is wearing his shirt, she gives this look to Danielle Parrott to make her like, yeah, I did that. I'm fucking your boyfriend. And it's like, girl, we do not have time for that right now.
Do not have time for you.
Yeah. Jarrett, I don't know if you read this. Jarrett said this came out way before the whole remember that thing we do now, which is funny because I remember some reviews of this when it came out. That was part of the negative stuff I was hearing was like, remember the hockey mask? It's like, God, this movie won't stop referencing the old ones. It's like, it's a Jason movie.
But also, it's not before we started doing the whole remember thing. It's just before people started complaining about it. Ghostbusters
Right.
2 came out in the late 80s, early 90s. That entire movie is a member berry. Just nobody complains about it because it came out 40 years ago.
Yes and no. I mean, that movie was considered a disappointment when it came out, but that was different. But that was the reputation of like most sequels was, they're lazy. They're just the first movie again. That's different. There's more to the member berry thing than just that.
But nobody complains now. I feel like that movie's gotten a little. They selectively complain. But my point is, we've always done that. Just people complain about it now.
And I also think some movies do it more excessively than
they
others.
do. But the problem is that I can no longer take that as valid criticism when the slightest thing gets complained about as, well, that's just a member berry because they can't carry a script.
There are people who feel who come off anti-sequel, anti-franchise, or it's like, we have to make this again. It's like, I don't know. You're not judging the thing on its own terms. But I think Alien Romulus is the perfect example of a movie where I am with it for most of it. Because, yeah, it has the atmosphere of Alien, and it has, the alien. So, of course, it has the facehuggers and all that stuff. But it does bother me when they repeat a couple of lines and bring back a character they really shouldn't have.
The character, okay, that is fair. My issue with the character is mostly just that it's bad CGI. I don't care that it's the same android. And then my problem with the lines, or at least the only one that I can remember, isn't that the line is there, it's that it's delivered badly.
It's delivered badly, but also the not Ash android gets the same line that Ash had in the first one of, I won't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. It's like, you don't.
But to be fair, he's under the same program.
No, that's a work for me. Sorry, there are member berries like that I find distracted. Like, you didn't need to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Necessary.
This is probably the lamest kill in the movie. It's not bad. It's just He threw an axe at him.
I it's like, ooh, good shot.
Yeah.
No, the
Oof.
part of the kill I like though is when he flips him over and he has him just
That's true.
suffering there to draw people out, which of course doesn't work, but still, that's the sadistic side of it that
Mhm.
sticks with me. And I will say my problem with the Trent death, it is better in this version, but that character is so annoying and over the top
I really
where
wish
it's
he'd
like,
had a
ah,
more over the top stuff from him.
yes. It's like this character's annoying, but that's because you're gonna love it. That's because you're gonna cheer when he dies. He probably shouldn't be the last character to die. Like we do drag that out more than we should,
Robert,
and
they
his
set a
death is not
trap.
as awesome as it could be. Oh my god, they're learning. The raptor set a trap. But yeah, this is sadistic and fucked up. Oh, a quick death
Ooh.
would be nice. Oh, like that's an alright kill.
Now I do remember. I take back some of what I said. The blonde here, I believe, is going to have a death identical to part 4 or 3, because she's
Hmm.
going to be like in a towel or something and get an axe to the chest.
No.
No.
Yeah, her death isn't great. It's one of the weaker ones, but it is a death you can do in the video game. That's another thing they pulled from this movie. So we'll see what you think of it when we get there. But like we were saying with Trent,
No, she's in a shirt. Uh, but no, there's a character in 4 that dies extremely similar to the way she's going to die, if I remember correctly.
well, 4 does have the girl in the towel who gets the axe to the chest.
Okay.
This is different. Unless you're thinking of like the shower scene because she's going to be in the bathroom, but
So,
we shall see.
God, imagine if one of these movies came out now, but like with Terrifier-esque kills.
Oh my god. Come on, Hollywood.
Give me what I want.
I like the build up. There is a jump scare here I like with the shower curtain. Heh.
How did he get up here?
He crawled through the window.
Oh, true. I like that like menace
Heh.
look in his eye.
Yeah, I like that you can see his eye, which we don't always do in the movies.
Okay, no, you're right.
Yeah, it's the antler kill, which again isn't great. It is one of the
Is that
weaker
a
kills in
reference
this
to
movie.
Silent Night, Deadly Night?
It could be. It's not done as well as that, but I was just wondering if
You know
it
what
was
I'm thinking
a
of? I don't
reference.
remember which movie it is, but there is a movie that has a kill similar to that, but it is an axe. But he has like her pinned to the door with the axe, so that when they open the
Oh,
door,
I mean, we just saw Bill in the first movie where he has like the arrows in him and he's stuck to the door.
no, this is one of the Jason movies. It might be that. God,
I don't remember off
brain
the
no
top of my
work.
head. But what is fun, what I was saying earlier, what is fun about her kill is they did put that in the games where you have the antlers
Yeah,
that you can stick people on. So I appreciate that they did pull some stuff from this movie.
no, that was kind of a lame death. She deserved a stupendous death.
Yeah, in the I agree. Other blonde girl did get the better death,
That's
the
true.
more memorable one. And yeah, with Trent again, his death is better in this version. It is a little more drawn out and gory, but it's still not as creative and over the top as you want to be. I love this kill
That's a great one.
with the arrow. That is such a cool shot of the camera going from outside and just panning past the wall inside. The arrow through the eye, he's got the eyeball on it, and like that kill is awesome. He's got a gun. Let's go.
Doing everything.
Do you think a better death for her would have been if we had Trench shoot her on accident?
That would have been more funny. You know what? She should have been the window kill. There's no broken windows in this movie.
It's funny you say that.
Why do you?
We do homage it.
Oh, okay.
So when is the last time you watched this movie? Because obviously you've been sitting on the 4K. You've been saving
Probably
it
when
for
I
this.
bought that box set.
Oh, okay, so like it's been a while.
Yeah. And even then, that one was in a high priority because I looked at that disc. I was like, yeah, this is the same Blu-ray I've owned for years.
Yep. Keep watching. Yay!
Oh yeah.
His
That's how I
scream
would
here
have.
is great.
That's how I would have killed her.
Yeah, I agree. It's still a good moment.
No, his scream is great. I love when
And
the
the
car is damaged and then they just act like they can't drive it anymore. That body did not destroy the engine or any of the motor.
nah. Oh, that's a good visual. This guy's body dumped in the pool
Yeah,
or the hot tub or whatever that is.
Robert, I think I might. I'm
Blood.
starting to think that this might be a good motion picture.
I like this motion picture. It also was at the time kind of a last gasp, of these like gory R-rated slashers, which we just stopped making for a while.
Didn't
And
come back until Halloween 2018.
that was the big one.
Yeah, so the last time that I rated this movie, I lied. The last time I rated this movie was October of 2023.
What did you rate it?
3.5, but I'm feeling a 4 star.
That it's really funny that at that time you rated this lower than the original.
I know.
You do not agree with
I
past
do
two
not
on that.
agree with myself. Come on, what are you showing me here?
This scene is weird.
Yeah,
This
I've never
creepy
understood what was
guy.
going on here. Like, is he helping Jason? Is he just driving away in a panic?
It would have helped if we set this guy up earlier. I don't know. You know what this movie's missing? It needs a crazy Ralph. The
Mhm.
closest you get is that old lady who's like, Jason, he wants to be left alone. Like that's the closest you get. We need a real crazy Ralph. This remake could use that. And again, his death here is okay. It is better in this version. It is more drawn out, but it's just not creative enough. This gag's kind of fun though. I will admit.
Yeah.
He likes that machete. Yeah, this is a lot longer than it is in the theatrical cut. It's just stuck to the rebar. Like that's pretty good. Like that's all right.
Robert, I'm redoing. I'm going to change my ranking, and I'm going to stick to the rating that I gave them based on the last rating. So my list is going to be slightly different when we do our lists.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel weird having the Evil Dead remake over like the Blob or even Let Me In. I think those are better movies. Although I think
Well,
Dracula's too high. Mm.
oh, so your ranking's probably gonna be now a bit different from mine. Like the Let Me In remake is very good. I still prefer Evil Dead 2013.
You look at 2013 is probably more watchable, but I think as a film,
Yeah.
Let Me In is probably better.
Yeah, like it's hard because Let Me In's really good. It's also like a shot for shot remake. So I don't want to give it too much credit, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you did what you did really well.
But you're also stuck with that when you're adapting a book.
That's fair. But also, like, the way that movie is shot in certain sequences are like storyboarded, the same
Mm.
way left the right one is. So not saying that makes it bad. I do like that movie a lot.
Yeah. Well, and we were on opposite sides where I prefer the the American version. Just
That's true.
I have to be in the mood for foreign films.
That's totally fair.
Ow,
Oh my god, you injured yourself on camera.
I did.
Finally there.
Friggin' neck.
the,
Help me!
the coolest kill of this episode goes to John, who snapped his neck live on camera.
I went full
Thanks for
Dark
watching.
Knight Returns Joker.
See you in hell. But like I said, it is a cool riff on those later movies with the final couple, except in this case, it's a brother and sister. And we have our fake out final girl in a really shocking death. Like, all those choices work for me.
Yeah.
Not that this is a Mary Shelley's Frankenstein brother sister situation.
Brother and sister, no more.
Thanks,
Oh,
movie.
I can't believe that made it past anyone.
It's a weird movie.
I love that movie, but like, good lord.
Yeah, we're obviously not including that on our remake list, but like, I don't know
Oh
where I'd
yeah,
put that. It was a different
yeah, because
movie.
we
We
didn't
could
cover
probably
that.
see.
I don't know, because like
It's definitely better than Nightmare on Elm Street. It's above that one.
I'd probably put it right under Horror of Dracula, or right above it,
It's in the middle
and then
somewhere.
the '90s Dracula would be really low for me. That is not my favorite Dracula adaptation.
I'm gonna put that a lot higher. And I like I like the Night of Living Dead remake, but that's still at the
That's
bottom,
kind
just
of
above
lower on the
Nightmare.
tier just by default because everything else is better.
Right. But these actors are selling this scene. I like how tense it is. And Jason's coming.
There's exception to this.
He's coming to a decision.
He's been on the roof the whole time. The very last scene is stupid. Why stay there? They're
Oh, we'll
recuperating.
get to it.
No, that is kind of a piss poor trying to like recreate the original jump scare.
Yeah. Jason's like, wait, I gotta get my machete. Okay, ready to go. Got 3 more. Pretty good.
We did get our Derek Mears versus Kane Hodder showdown though.
Yeah. And the Hatchet movies.
Yeah. Which you've got to rewatch what, two because of the
Yeah.
subtitles.
Because we had a nightmare of a watch party on that. Because
Yeah.
Amazon sucks. Yeah.
Damn you, Amazon.
As good as Danielle Harris is in those sequels, it is kind of a bummer that she doesn't have like that iconic character to be associated with. Like, I guess Jamie in Halloween, and oh my god, Daniel Panabaker's dead.
Yep. She's fine. Just take her hand. Oh, okay.
She's fine. And she was just stabbed in the heart. It's also not a cheat. That's part of why I think it works. Is like we see Jason running after them. Like they know he's there. She was just took too long getting out. But I like the
You know what?
quickness of
That
it.
does play better. I don't. Maybe it's just I missed it the first time because I wasn't paying attention or something.
That scene, it also might be a couple seconds longer in this version. It might have been quicker in the theatrical cut.
I remember when we got to this, I was like, wait a minute, there was three of them. Where'd the other one go?
This was getting out of hand. Now there are just two of them. This is kind of random. I like this bus set that's on its side.
Yeah.
Is this a reach? Is this an homage to the shot in part 6 when the RV is tipped over and Jason's standing on top of it? Am I
If
reaching?
we Yes, but not entirely. If we had a clear shot of him standing on it, I would be with you.
And here we get our fake out Clay kill because he got his head smashed pretty good, but he'll be back.
No, I like that this Jason is leaner because we typically go for a bulkier Jason.
Mhm.
And by typically, I just mean the Kane Hodder movies where he's the fucking tank.
Right. Well, and this movie obviously shows him with the machete a lot, which is his known to be his signature weapon at this point. It's really not in the older movies.
What is weird
It's
too because I can't figure out where that comes from. Because like he has it in Freddy versus Jason just because, but he
Mhm.
doesn't carry it around in any of the old movies.
He has a bunch of stuff. He probably first uses it the most regularly in part 6,
Even then,
right?
he really only has it during that paintball scene.
Well, that's where he gets it. Because he kills the one guy, that's how he gets the machete, and then he decapitates 3 of them.
Yeah, but I don't think he carries it around.
There's shots of him holding it.
Okay.
I can picture one, but
No,
he also
sorry, he.
uses other weapons too.
It's not just Freddy vs. Jason. He has it in. You know what? That might be a
Jason
new
Goes
line
to
thing
Hell. Jason Goes to Hell. He has it,
because he has it in
and in
Jason
Jason
X too.
X,
Because it has one of the best lines in the movie. Don't worry, guys. He just wanted his machete back.
it's the best monologue in that movie. It's a good monologue.
If only Noah were here. He'd know.
but clearly, that movie doesn't invent that. By the time we make Jason X, we're aware in the cultural zeitgeist that Jason uses a machete. That's his weapon. That's why that line's there.
Yeah.
That's just accepted by the fans and at
Well, it's
that
just I
point.
wonder because it's almost like a snake eating its own tail, where the New Line movies really lean into that, but then they're also kind of the ones that cement it.
Yep. Oh my god.
It kind of
Here
just
we
feels
get
like,
our
well, Freddy
that
has the glove. Jason needs something.
a specific weapon, right? Because it's but like the early Kane Otter movies, like part 7 and 8, he's using all kinds of shit throughout the.
Yeah,
He does not have a consistent weapon. But we just talked over it, but we got our part 2 homage with Jason jumping through
first
the
through the
window.
window.
So you get broken glass there too.
Yeah, now it's a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. Which is part of why I think the jump scare at the end doesn't work, just because it's a double beat. Like, no, you already did the Jason jumping out, jumping through something shot. Like, you don't need to do it again.
You can't do that.
And then, I was also thinking about like part 4 Jason, where Rob has a machete, the guy looking for a sister, which is then used by Tommy to kill Jason. But Jason himself never uses that machete in that movie,
Yeah.
and that's part 4.
So this is where I think the realistic take on this reboot kind of starts to crumble because he's gonna get his head put in a fucking wood chipper and then it's fine.
Well, it's I don't remember because this is another reshot sequence. It was different originally, but what's gonna happen is he's gonna get chained to the wood chipper, and that's gonna like snap his neck. Yeah, he takes a
Yeah,
lot of
but his
damage
head
here.
is gonna get hit in that wood chipper.
I don't think it does. I think you expect that, but I don't think the mask breaks or anything. I think it's just you hear like his neck snap, and then she stabs him with the machete.
This is a part 3 reference.
It is a part 3 reference. That's a good call. When they hang him. Yeah, this is the part of the movie where we decide, okay, Jason's just kind of invincible now. That's not what we were really doing before. Um, I don't know. You could have gone
Wait,
further with that sequel, I guess, where it goes full supernatural. Now there's the wood chipper, and that's part of my problem too. We're paying off the wood chipper here. Trent could have gone through that, right?
yeah.
This would have been a good kill for Trent. That's kind of a missed opportunity.
No, see?
Okay.
His head is getting chipped.
Yeah, we do briefly see it cutting up his scalp a little, so yeah, he
The
takes a lot
boy,
of damage here.
a
Oh,
great shot.
poor guy. Yeah, so the end of this movie, I can't tell if it's like no, he's just really hard to kill, or if it just decides he's supernatural or a zombie. I don't
Or
know.
if this doesn't happen, like it isn't really happening.
Uh,
We'll never know because we didn't get the
the
sequel.
next day, all these people, these innocent young souls, are dead now.
Good. They were out having sex while that young boy drowned. This would have been a great place to have that monologue as
Yeah,
like a narration.
I would have preferred a quieter ending.
Yeah, just
And
like have the Pamela Voorhees speech over these shots of deaths or whatever. You know, his name was Jason. Today was his birthday.
mhm. You know what my final shot would have been when we
So
see his mask hit the bottom of the lake in a minute. My final shot would have just been his hand in the water picking up the mask, and then cut to black.
yeah,
Movie's over.
because this
The
does kind of
pro
play on that just expectation of, yeah, we know the slasher's not really
He's gonna come back.
dead.
Which, to be fair, most remakes in this era weren't doing. Most of these remakes would kill the villain for good and say, "Nope, they're dead. We're not doing a sequel. Move on to the next remake."
Yeah,
So this does stand out a little.
is that true though? Does Leatherface die in Texas Chainsaw?
Okay, that's true. He doesn't die, but he also gets his arm cut off.
Yeah.
But that's true. He doesn't die. Um,
Uh, Halloween, he
no, you're
doesn't
right. It's
die.
more well, but Halloween 2, he's dead as fuck.
Well,
In
Halloween
that one.
2 is its own weird.
Yeah. So, okay, I should rephrase. As far as like the big slashers go, yeah, like the icons that we tease them coming back, but then we usually don't make sequels. But like all these other remakes were just like one and dones.
Yeah.
Um, but no, that's true. There's more than I realized. But and I think the problem with trying to recreate that jump scare of Jason coming out and grabbing her, it's just you can't top the first one where we see it coming. You can't recreate that surprise.
Yeah, I
So
would have
just
gone for
don't do
something
it.
more haunted because that doesn't fit the tone of the rest of this movie.
I don't think it does. No, the first time I watched this movie, I hated the ending. I loved it up until that point, and I was like, "Oh, how trite! Come on!"
I
Like,
love that you
he
used the
on
word
this.
trite, you fucking
Oh yeah,
pretentious douchebag.
I was very upset by this ending bothered me. Now I'm kind of whatever about it, just because I know it's coming, and it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. Like I said, we should also do a tier list of Jason jump scares in this movie because we do a lot of them, and they can never top that first one.
No, they can't. All right. Well, that has been our commentary on Friday the 13th, 2009. Thanks for hanging out,
Yes.
everybody. We'll be back next Friday with The Last of Us. We're finally going to tackle that. At least the first 5 or so episodes, and then we will tackle the other 4 at another date. But it will be before that show comes out. And then this Sunday we will play some more Alan Wake. And then this Thursday we will try to finish Doom.
Doom.
If you're watching
You
after
are
the
all
fact,
doomed.
have a good night, everybody. If you're watching
Happy
live,
Friday.
don't go anywhere. We're gonna play Robert's favorite. We're gonna do Robert's favorite part of the night. We're gonna spin a
Spin that
wheel.
Spin it.
It will
You may want
decide
to.
our fate
There ain't no fate but what you make.
until we need to make another movie. All right.
It'll be really funny if it lands on one of the ones you just added. So we've done. This is our
Oh,
ninth one,
you
correct?
just jinxed it. We just landed on Piranha.
Oh God, Piranha. Oh boy.
Uh,
Piranha. You know, I've been wanting to rewatch the 3D one. This gives me an excuse to do that. But if you have not played your respin yet. I'm down for it, but if you
I'm
want to
gonna
respin, that's fine.
play my respin, and because there's one that I really want to do. All right, we're gonna respin.
You only get one.
I know
Hope
I'm
you
gonna
don't
be
regret
mad
it.
if I don't get it.
This
You
is
know what?
gross.
I'll take it. We got Manhunter slash Red Dragon.
Ooh, interesting. Very different.
Yeah, I like that a lot better,
But
to be honest.
that it's fun. Because we did we do a Silence of the Lambs commentary last year? I think we did
Um, we
during
did
October.
something on it. I don't remember if it was a review or a commentary, but that was your pick
It might. I think it was. I don't remember.
for
Yeah, because I
Decades of
picked the
Horror.
'90s. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was like five
that
months
was
ago.
like 2 months
Different
ago.
year.
What are you doing?
No, fuck you. It was 5 months ago. Do the math.
Oh, it was like two
No,
minutes ago.
this will be fun though, because you've seen Red Dragon but not Manhunter, correct?
Right.
So that'd be interesting. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. We might have to find Manhunter on like YouTube or something. But I'm looking forward to rewatching it.
Actually, hold on. It is
I
on
think my
Prime.
Oh, cool. There you go. I think my sister has a Blu-ray set because I obviously there have been different rights holders for different movies, but I think my sister has a Blu-ray that's like Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs, and Hannibal, but not Red Dragon.
Yeah, it says,
Is that one?
okay, then. I haven't seen those. I like the Hannibal movies.
Yeah, and none of them are as good as Silence of the Lambs, obviously, but Manhunter is awesome, Jareth. It's an underrated '80s flick. Michael Mann. It's really cool, and the Red Dragon remake I think is pretty good.
It's probably
It's
Brett Ratner's best film.
Yep, which is not a high bar, but Ray Fiennes is great in that movie.
Yeah, and you get Edward Norton.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I do prefer William Peterson and Manhunter, but I'm curious what you'll
I
think.
mean, the best one is the show version, but
Probably, which I still need to watch.
yeah. And I don't mean adaptation. I haven't seen that season that does Red Dragon, but oh God, what is his name?
Will Graham,
Will Graham. Their Will Graham is fantastic.
he's great, and in Manhunter, that's William Peterson. That's Grissom from CSI.
Yeah,
One of
that's
his
why I'd be
first starring
curious. I've
movies.
not seen
Yeah,
him in anything.
he really captures like the edge of that character where you can tell this guy's gonna snap like any second, where he's like really fighting to stay sane. That's the side of that character that he really
The
captures.
show, from what I remember, the show does a lot with
Mhm.
that. All
And you
right,
also see Brian Cox as the first Hannibal Lecter, which
yeah,
is
it's
interesting.
crazy. Not who I would have picked.
No, that'll be fun. I mean, this won't be. This will be in. This won't be for a
It will
few
be for a
weeks.
while. Yeah, we've got other
Yeah,
stuff we got to get out of the way. Not what I was hoping for, but I'll take it.
it'll be
I was
interesting.
really hoping we'd get Hellraiser.
Yeah, that's the big one that keeps getting away.
All right, I'm gonna delete these from the wheel so I don't forget. But yeah, we will be back Sunday with Alan Wake. I think. Have a good night, everybody.
Later.